there's like lead financial.
That vote?
Right? I think they get cornered in, I don't understand it. Like they buy that Italian beef. It was phenomenal. They never, and they never use it.
Good.
Now they are.
Check my phone, but yes.
Hey, the October 27th meeting of the October 27th meeting of the planning board of Rochester is called to order. We say with me to pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, would you do the roll call, please?
Chair Jones,
Here.
member Nelson,
Here.
member Duda. Present. Member Petrин.
Here.
Member Farmel, here, member Roberts.
Here.
And member Pinsky is absent.
Absent.
We have Dave Short.
Dave Church is here, Dave Gordon is here, you're here. Okay. So we have a couple of things to do up front, that I'd like to accomplish. One is we want to approve the minutes from the meeting, last meeting, which was October 14th.
Can you speak up? It's hard to hear.
How's this?
Better?
Okay. So, want to approve the minutes from October 14th. I know I got a couple of comments. I think Stacy is aware of them already.
Yes.
Jennifer, you had one. Did that go to Stacy?
Yes.
Yes, you have, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so why don't you just tell the board what it was?
It was with regard to the environmental review and talking about whether or not, or how we would manage meeting the terms of the state environmental review, but the town code had some additional requirements. This was for Verizon, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And so I modified my comment, the comment that was attributed to me, just to clarify that in the city of New York, there's the state environmental review, but the city has its own that both meets the standard and exceeds it in some cases. And that was an example of how both the town code and the state requirement can both be met.
Right, if you remember, we had a memo last time from Matt Allen. That church that detailed the DEC requirements. We're looking at the criteria for visual assessment. But then in addition to that, the town code has certain requirements, so Dave made us aware of that. Jennifer was just giving us an example of city of New York. This New York State city has higher levels, so. Any other changes?
I
Hans?
had a small formality that there was for one member that was absent and present. That was me.
Yeah, she told me about it. I moved it over, but it fixed the.
No problem, I just.
Yeah, I already flagged, I was at,
Yeah, I already.
So Helena was here, a reasonable facsimile of Helena was here.
Yes.
Any other changes? So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the changes that were just mentioned.
I'll make the motion.
Peter makes a motion.
I'll second.
Dave Roberts, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay.
Okay, escrow balances, I don't think we have anything to speak about, we have. So we're gonna skip that one. Other matters. Just wanna update you, we had a meeting, we being Dave Roberts, Dave Church, myself and Peter. We had a meeting with Rav Tav this morning. Somebody asked me, by the way, if we would have Rav Tav. That's the Pine Grove Ranch, the Dude Ranch, on the agenda for tonight. It's not on the agenda. Unlikely to be on the agenda for November either, because they have still owe us some information, some not new information, but adjustment to old information. So the earliest that it's going to happen, more than likely, is December, the meeting of December 8th. So the meeting went well, talked about lots of things, water, architecture, bulk size of the building, all the things that we've talked about before. Did we make progress? We'll see if, in terms of the information that we have, what kind of adjustments to the information we get. We gave them a deadline of November 24th to get us new information in order to get onto the agenda for December. So. Jennifer, would you like to give us an update on Pinkerus?
I don't have an update, I haven't connected.
Okay, you did mention, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we, after they were here 3 meetings ago.
2 meetings ago.
We connected him with Bill Eggers, I believe. And I haven't said anything beyond the emails where we connected them to modify the map. So I think we might remember that there was just a very old map that needed to be updated. You'll take it.
And Hans, anything on Meta?
So you provided some updates to the HOA easement, and I think he's working on that, to implement that. Before this meeting, I spoke to Zali Bin from the Land Conservancy, and he says that it's basically on a good track. And he expected to close it.
Okay, so what's on track is the third party
It's the third
entity taking over the conservation easement. On top of that, the town did approve the escrow monies or escrow contract last week, right?
So this,
Thursday.
that's Thursday.
It was last Thursday.
I haven't checked. Sure, check.
It was on the
Okay.
agenda, but I don't.
It was on the agenda. All right, I'll have to check that.
I will
Okay,
check. I will check.
we're almost there. Okay, first item on the agenda is the continuing public hearing for Verizon, the cell tower. Anybody who would like to speak, we have a sign-in sheet up there. Sign-in sheet is not for whether you're here or not. You don't have to sign if you just want to sit and observe. But anybody who'd like to speak, appreciate it if they would just list their name there so I can make sure I get to everybody. Jennifer, would you mind getting me that sheet? Just a few comments. Lots of paperwork coming in on it, lots of comments from the public. Everybody should know that all the material that comes in is now loaded on the town's system, which we refer to here as municipal collaboration. And the public has access to all the information that the board sees. So if you want something to know something about the project, may take a little getting used to the system, but it is available there. And when things get logged in, one of the nice things is that it requires a date of when we receive it to be put in there. It may take a day, half a day, or 2 days to get it updated, but it requires putting in the date in which we receive the information so that we can keep track of who sent it and when we got it. And of course, when you see it is when we update it. So there was somebody who, I'm sorry if I ignored them last time. They were here early and they had to leave right at the beginning. Is she here tonight? No, okay, so we're gonna go, if anybody who was here last time and commented, they want to comment again. I would ask you to wait until everybody else who hasn't commented, wait until they comment, and then we'll get to you. So the first person on the list is James Brighttongue. I don't believe you were here last night or that you commented last time.
Yes, sir. My name's James. I live at 439 Granite, that apartment complex right where they're gonna look to build the cell tower. I live in that apartment that's right alongside the cell tower area. While that balloon test was going on, I mean, my windows face that direction. My shower, the windows in my shower face that. So when those guys were out there, I could see them. When they had their drone coming down out of the sky from taking pictures across the valley, it was right there in my face. And it was my fiance and I in the shower. Not okay to be able to have access to the view inside my bathroom. The cell tower, looking at the footage and where that balloon was, if, God forbid, it were to fall, there's a 50-50 chance whether it falls into my house or the neighbor's house on the other side. And that could cause damage, death, you know, physical hurt to people in their dwellings. Building a cell tower, there's a lot of construction that goes into it. I was a lineman for 10 years. I worked for a communication company and at a Walk Hill. He's no longer around. I know that cell towers are not just, you put a cell tower in and that's it. It's not touched anymore. They are often rented out so that other communication companies can put lines in and use communication through that cell tower. So it won't just be one construction and done. It's gonna be constant updating, replenishing communication lines. There's also a lot of chemical runoff from the construction. With the concrete, the stone that they're gonna have to source to bring in. My water, I know that there was communication with Fish and Wildlife saying that there wasn't gonna be a big reaction. Our water supply is at the bottom of that hill. With all those chemicals and all that runoff going down that hill into our water supply, the Stony Kill. That's endangering our welfare and everybody in my complex. That also feeds the hotel across the street and the housing down there. That's all those people plus everybody all the way down to Stony Kill. There's swimming areas down there. It's just. It's too much. Too much to even say. Yeah, it's about if the tower falls. And possibly hurt both of us. Yeah, and everything else that I was gonna say has been said in the last meeting, so I'm not gonna waste too much of you guys' time. And I appreciate you guys putting everything online and having it available to us. That's very nice of all of you. Very appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't mention it before, but we're gonna try to keep the comments to 5 minutes. We slip sometimes and it goes longer, but around 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Michelle and Larry, I'm gonna wait until other people speak, if that's okay with you. I can't, John Doerr? That's what it looks like. John, is there a John here who wants to speak? Okay. Bob Vandenberg. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a resident of Ackworth. I respectfully request that the planning board deny Verizon application for a special use permit and a waiver of the 95-foot high limit under the zoning code. My career for the last 35 years involved land preservation throughout the state of New York and throughout much of the East Coast. I can say with moral certainty that this is one of the most stunning and inspiring landscapes in the state of New York, or perhaps anywhere. And we are fortunate that many numerous governmental units, nonprofits, and individuals have invested heavily in preserving this remarkable landscape. A significant portion of our viewshed is permanently protected, representing an enormous investment of resources and efforts by many. The cell tower, if constructed, would have a significant negative impact on this remarkable landscape and degrade this decay from preservation effort. The balloon test demonstrated that the cell tower will be visible from multiple locations: Minnewaska State Park, preserved farms, and conserved properties throughout the town. This tower, if built, will significantly degrade views from many of these conserved properties. While we can argue over how visible the cell tower will be, Verizon's refrain that you can hardly see it means that you can see it. I appreciate that Verizon is in the business of providing communication services and building cell towers. However, Verizon may not appreciate how special and unique the town of Rochester landscape is. This is not just another landscape. In closing, I once again respectfully urge the planning board to deny the special use permit and the waiver. I would also say I very much appreciate the long hours of work and the late nights all of you on this board have put into this. The residents of the town are very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Hayes?
Hi,
Hi.
thanks for having me. My name is John Hayes. I'm a resident here in town of Rochester. I also serve on the board of our local land conservancy, Shongan Conservancy. And I'm just happy to see a lot of people here who I'm sure would rather be home with their families, but come to a planning board meeting on a Monday night, and obviously people feel passionate about this issue. I live here in the town of Rochester, and I'm sure a lot of us have traveled during our lives, locally and far away. I used to travel for my job. And I find myself in certain places like Ohio, say, for example, or and they have you'll be in a particular town, and they'll have a strip mall and some car dealers and tire shops and so forth. And you think, hey, I could be living anywhere. I could be here, or I could be in Pennsylvania somewhere, or New Jersey. Not saying anything wrong about those places, but we have something different here. I'm driving up 209 this afternoon, and if you look at our beautiful Shawangum Ridge, when the light hits it sometimes, it's so magnificent. And I know a lot of people here in town feel the same way. It's why we come here. It's why we live here. It's why we raise our families here. And it's not like anywhere else. It's not like those other places. We have a beautiful town here with a beautiful landscape, and it's why we live here. And I'm afraid that when I ask, well, what's next? We have someone comes in and says, well, never mind all that. We're going to put up this big thing, and you're going to learn to live with it. And after a while, you won't even pay attention to it. Well, I'm here to say we love our community the way it is, and they're going to call this progress. And they're going to say, oh, did we mention this is a profit center for us? But like the song goes, ain't too proud to beg. I ain't too proud to beg. I'm asking. Please don't do this. Please don't do this.
Thank you, John. Troy, I'm gonna skip you because you spoke last time. We'll come back to you. There's a couple of other people who haven't spoken yet. That's all right with you? Susan Hangling or Hongling?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Hoteling.
I have a question. I don't understand why health issues aren't brought up under this topic.
So the public hearing is for making statements, and we don't get involved in answering questions. So if you hang around a while, we're going to be talking about health issues, but I will make the comment, because I did forget to make it up front and meant to, that we're required or we're prevented by federal code, federal statute, from taking into consideration radio frequency waves and their effect on the environment is, I believe, a synopsis of the exact language. So we're prevented from
Does that sound
putting
right
that
to you?
anywhere into our decision. It's a federal law. So it doesn't matter whether it sounds right to me. It matters whether it's on the books or not. So whatever anybody thinks or whatever they have in their mind when they make their decision or their vote, that's up to them. But as far as our decision, we cannot mention, include in either our denial or approval, whatever we do, anything having to do with the impact of radio frequency waves on the environment. So, okay. I don't know, maybe later on our attorney will get a little bit more into that, but so happy to answer that because I forgot to mention it up front. And I should have mentioned it last time. Okay. Last name Rose. Mr. Rose, Phil?
I don't want to get out of order. I did send in a written
Letter?
comment,
Okay,
last week, but I have one other thing to add.
sure.
This has to do with the height that was requested. I believe it was 145 feet and possibly 165 or more feet. And I assume that the existing code was researched and written for a purpose. And so it strikes me that potentially the Verizon request is asking for a doubling of that height. Seems kind of pointless to have code and then exceed it by that much. And I have a hard time conceptualizing something that tall. So I thought, well, what if I thought about it as the height of a building? So I got on the trusty internet, which is always correct. And looked for estimating numbers to see how people estimate the height of a story. And I saw everything from 10 feet, which sounds like a small, like a dwelling unit as opposed to a commercial building, but I did see numbers thrown around 12 to 14 feet per story. And looking at the possibility of a 165-foot tower, which seems, I've seen that discussed, that would be approximately 14 to 16 stories tall. So just if you're like me, you need something sort of tangible to conceptualize how big a tower that would be. That's pretty huge. 12 to 14 stories. And that made me feel extra concerned about siting a tower there. And other reasons that I wrote about, but that was just a graphic way for me to conceptualize it. So I do hope that you will reject the application for the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Okay, Michelle Hertz.
So, thank you again for all that you're doing here. I want to say first that it was an incredibly beautiful day yesterday and today. And the views were incredible. Like, we live along a ring of gems. The Shangam Ridge is looks like gems right now. To think about seeing a cell tower in the midst of that is kind of like a crime, like stealing gems. So I'd like to say that first. The zoning codes for this town are commendable. I truly feel that way. But giving waivers and special use permits without clear and honest proof of necessity is a slippery slope, especially with a company that is obviously seeking to build cell towers everywhere it can and along the ridge. This leads me to bring up Town Zoning Code 14029H1N, which requires a structural certification study for any cell tower built in the town of Rochester. Verizon acknowledges this, but it has refused to submit this study for the proposed tower and has said that it will not do so before the board makes its final decision on this application. Until Verizon submits the study with all the content described in the code, the board can't allow Verizon's application to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Larry Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I too express my thanks to the board for the incredible effort and time that it's put into this thus far, and it's not over. I want to call the board's attention to two documents that we submitted this morning. Both of them about the adverse impact that Verizon's proposed cell tower will have on the incredible diversity of plants and wildlife, especially birds, at the proposed tower site and in the surrounding areas on the Shangam Ridge. Now, one of those documents is from Attorney Berg, and it addresses the reasons why the board can and must consider the adverse impact of the proposed cell tower on the plants and wildlife on the ridge. And that the Telecommunications Act of 1996, for the reasons Mr. Berg offers, do not preclude that. Again, the first document is, and the second document, which is the expert report of Dr. Albert Manville, who is the leading authority on the subject of the impact of cell towers on plants and wildlife in the world, and the most widely published person to address this. I'll come back to that. He offers the reasons why, in light of these considerations, the board can and must deny Verizon's application. So the first document, as you saw this morning, is a letter from Attorney Berg, in which he definitively refutes Verizon's argument that the Telecommunications Act precludes the board from considering the tower's impact on the plants and wildlife on the ridge. This letter shows that Verizon's most recent arguments in a letter that Mr. Olson submitted 2 weeks ago are not supported by the court decisions on which Verizon relies or the text of the Telecommunications Act. As you'll read in Mr. Berg's letter, and as he said in his first letter, with one exception of a district court in Connecticut, every court to address this issue has equated the term environmental effects, which is the term in the preclusion section, the preemption section of the Telecommunications Act, with effects on human health. So I urge you to read Mr. Berg's letter of this morning, which again, I think definitively refutes Verizon's arguments as to why the Telecommunications Act preempts consideration of the impact of the tower on plants and wildlife. It does preclude your consideration of human health effects, most regrettably, under the interpretation that has been given to that provision, but not the impacts on plants and wildlife. And Mr. Berg also explains that even if the Telecommunications Act were construed to preclude consideration of the tower's impact on plants and wildlife, the board still must consider the proposed tower's impact on plants and wildlife under other statutes that the Telecommunications Act expressly says are not preempted, are not superseded, but are not modified by the Telecommunications Act. And I'm referring here to statutes, federal laws that protect birds, reptiles, and other wildlife. I'm referring to the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act, the Eagle and Golden Eagle Protection Act, and the Endangered Species Act. And as you've seen in Dr. Manville's report and in prior submissions that we've made, many of the species that are found in this area, on the area of the proposed tower site and on the Shawangunk Ridge, are protected by these statutes. So even if the board were to construe the Telecommunications Act to preempt consideration under, in light of the Telecommunications Act, you have these other federal statutes out there, as Mr. Berg explains, which would require the board to engage in the same analysis. Now, the second document is a detailed expert report by Dr. Albert Manville, who is the world's foremost expert on the adverse impacts of cell towers on plants and wildlife, especially birds. Dr. Manville was a senior wildlife biologist at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for 17 years, and he was the service's national lead official on the impacts of cell towers on wildlife through collisions, radiation, and other disturbances. For the past 25 years, he has taught graduate students on this subject at Johns Hopkins University. And as I said, and as you can see in the citations we've offered to you, which Mr. Berg provided summaries of in response to your request, you'll see that, if you haven't seen already, that Dr. Manville is the most widely published authority on the subject of the impacts of cell towers on wildlife. Please, members of the board, please read Dr. Manville's report. And when you do, you will see that he has reviewed the record of this proceeding in great detail, and he strongly recommends that the board not permit Verizon to proceed with a tower at the proposed location. Why? Because, as he says, the location of the proposed tower, as we've said, the worst location you could possibly imagine. The location of the proposed tower means that it will have catastrophic impacts on the birds, other wildlife, and the plants at the project site and surrounding areas, especially the bird conservation area and the important bird area of Minnewaska. You could not choose a location for a cell tower where it would have a greater devastating impact on migratory birds, raptors, and other birds that are found in this area. As Dr. Manville describes with respect to birds, the impacts include the triple threats of collisions with the tower, the serious problems of raptors nesting at the top of the tower, and radio emissions from the tower's antennas. In
Larry,
short,
I'm gonna give you another 2 minutes. You're almost
I
at
won't
10
be-
minutes. Say that again.
I won't need it.
Thank you.
Larry can have my time. I'll wait for my video.
Go ahead.
Thank you. In short, Dr. Manville's report provides overwhelming evidence of the adverse impacts of the proposed cell tower on the plants and wildlife of the Shawangunk Ridge and provides ample basis for denying Verizon's application. In sum and in conclusion, you have the authority, indeed, I would say you have the obligation under a number of federal statutes to consider the evidence on this subject. And I implore you again, please read Dr. Manville's report and understand what would be unleashed on the wildlife and the plants in this area if Verizon's application were granted. Thank you very much.
Troy, Larry only went 10 minutes. Do you want another 5 minutes? You sure?
I couldn't possibly say anything more powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think I have gotten everybody on the list at least. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? And if there was somebody from last week who wants to speak again, fine.
I was here last,
Sure.
my name is Toby Stover, I live on Clover Valley Road. Last week, I drove up Route 4455 from Bronxton, and I stopped at the lookout. I don't have good eyes at all, and I don't have great glasses. And I could see clearly the Granite Hotel from there. Clearly from that lookout on 4455. And when I was here last week and that slideshow showed, oh, you can't see it. You could so easily see that hotel. I could even. And I imagine a huge tower right there from that most famous lookout. It's absolutely unacceptable. So I wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sally Payne, I live in Accord, and we were able to stop the 5G tower in Woodstock. And primarily, it's gonna have a devastating effect on property values. And that's the number one thing that you're right about the health effects. It's written into the federal law that can't be included, but property values are. And just as they stopped 5G in cell phone towers in Scarsdale and Great Neck. Because they knew this would dramatically impact the property values. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just want to say one more thing about what Larry said. I'm not sure about this, but I think if you look at old growth forests east of the Mississippi, they're in little tiny stands. 20 acres here, 20 acres there. The Shawangunk Ridge. And I'm not saying that this tower will hurt those trees. The Shawangunk Ridge, right beaming at the tower, that first ridge is full of old pitch pines that are this tall, 500, 600 years old, chestnut oak, and other species. They've never been cut. And the Shawangunk Ridge doesn't get credit for it being one of the largest, if not the largest, old growth forest in the eastern half of the United States, but it is. And in fact, there's a stand up there of pitch pines. They're about 10 feet tall. They're about this width. They're growing out of solid rock. They're in the, what is it called?
Bonsai Grove.
Oh, Bonsai Grove, it's in the old growth register. And, but they actually said, well, the whole area is old growth. And so. About 2 years ago, we started noticing some white things on the trees, and they started dying, some of the pit button trees up there. And I brought a wildlife person, a forestry person up there from Minnewaska, and we hiked it, and it seemed like it was a stress on the trees from a drought and from the lack of water. And you can see the gypsy moths takes 1 or 2 cycles and then a drought to start killing the oak trees. So again, I don't know if this tower is going to stress the trees further. But from what I was told, if there's stress and you start from the beaming and there's a drought or this actually natural predator, this white stuff, I forgot what it's called, some kind of algae. What's it called? Woolly adelgid. No, that was woolly
That's a
adelgid, hemlock. This was another white, you could see it on these little bonsai trees that would kill them. I don't know if this tower is going to stress them further, but if it does, it'd be a real shame. Because it's all old growth. It's never seen a chainsaw done. So, sorry to mention it.
Anybody else? We are gonna, yes, ma'am.
Letting me speak again. My name is Franny Hertz. Spoke last week. I'll be really brief. So I know that the board can't take EMF sickness into consideration.
Can you talk a little louder, please?
I know that the board can't take EMF sickness into consideration in your decision. I get that. I really believe there's a connection with EMF sickness and property values. I have people that I love in my personal life who experience EMF sickness, like if you had a family member who had cancer. That's what it's like. So I know you can't really think about it in that term, but if you could stretch a little bit towards, this is a community of people who really care about this place and we care about each other. And that is special. And that is unique. And we have learned to live with the Hudson Valley Resort. But we're okay if they take it down. We don't want more of it. That's a different point. But we are a special community and you guys are special because you guys have been here and you've been listening to us and you've been super patient about it. But when someone you love is sick from something and you know that that's what it is, and even though you guys can't consider it in your decision, you can make connections of things you can consider that are related. And I just urge you, please, to take that into consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? We are going to continue the public hearing to the next meeting, which is November 10th. So I just want you to know that we're not going to close the public hearing tonight. Sir, you want to?
Yeah, I spoke last week, or 2 weeks ago. I just want to mention that my name is Rich Williams. I live at 514 Stony Hill Road. I briefly mentioned this in my last comment. But as more and more leaves fall off the trees, and as the gentleman over there said, 15 stories tall, I don't see how I will not be able to see this thing out of my entire all the rear windows in my house when the leaves are down, and possibly when the leaves are up. That, to me, that's disgusting. Are we living in the city? And the fact that I'm between 3 and 4/10 of a mile, not direct neighbors with the people that are putting it up. I had no indication that this was going up, none. The only reason I knew it was because someone put a flyer on my door. People that own the property where it's going up, they're not technically my neighbors, but I don't think this is a very neighborly thing for them to do. And it will absolutely ruin the property values. I'm convinced now. If I showed someone this house and they can see the tower right there, 15 stories tall, off the back deck and through all the rear windows of the house, I don't see how that's not going to affect the value of my house significantly. So I just had to get that out there, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. So I'm going to close the public hearing for tonight. And again, we'll be here again. We'll reopen the public hearing on the 10th. For anybody who wants to stay, we have 4 other projects which should take no more than 45 minutes to get through, and then we're going to talk the rest of the evening till 10:30 about Verizon and comments from last week, comments from this week, as well as the kinds of things that we're going to have to deal with in terms of making a decision one way or the other. So we're going to start getting into some of these difficult topics. So if you want to stay, that'd be great. We should start that discussion somewhere around 8 o'clock, I hope, or 8:15. So just to let everybody know. Okay, so Stacy, I'm going to give this to you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Appreciate all your comments and the time that you spent out tonight. Thank you. So is Bill Agers here for the project known as Growler Petrocelli and Broadleaf Farm?
I don't think he's here yet.
No. How about John Post? John. How are you? Okay, so John is here. Give us a few minutes while people leave. So you have a map here. Now, you have a map here from John and Jacqueline Post. So folks, what we'd like to do, we need to conduct our regular meeting, so if you don't mind stepping outside and continue your conversations, that would be appreciated. For yous, could you continue the discussion outside? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is a lot line. John, why don't you explain to us what's going on here, what you're trying to accomplish?
2 lots, basically. 4.7 acres, 2.1 basic lot. That non-conforming, I know it's technically grandfathered in, but it's not really usable, so I just want to combine them.
So the area that you're saying is non-conforming is the 2.082 acres?
Yeah, it's 3 acre zoning now.
It's 3 acre zoning, so it's short by a hair.
I'm grandfathered in, I think, but.
Yep. So you're just combining it with you're combining it with the other property to make the total property approximately almost 9 acres.
No, 6.8.
6.8 total.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so just everybody left? Oh,
Yeah.
almost everything. We had a lot of
Hey.
interesting stuff to talk about.
They might be back.
This is like you're going to high.
I just wanted to say the same thing. It just felt really bad for you in that line.
I had so many things to mention about, well, oh well. Where was I? This is a type 2, so we don't have to do seeker, any of the seeker steps. John did send in a letter. It only got to me, I guess it was yesterday. And I posted it this morning, today sometime. So there's a letter in there describing why he wants to do this. We've been asking everybody for that. And I have a little more to say. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Straightforward letter, yeah.
I think it's.
The letter came in today?
The letter came in today. Yeah.
It was just
Pretty much what I just said.
justification.
Yeah, it was what John just said. Yeah, it should have been gathered a little bit earlier. It hadn't been, so I had gotten a hold of John last week sometime and asked for the letter. I don't have a decision for you tonight, just so the board knows. Knowing that I didn't have that letter, so the earliest we would do the decision is the next meeting, which is November 10th. On this side, anybody have any questions, comments?
No.
Okay.
It's very straightforward.
So I think we're all fine with it, John? Dave, would you prepare a decision for the next meeting? Sure. So John, the next meeting we won't do the Verizon stuff first.
Okay.
We'll do yours first because it's so easy. And part of it is I didn't have that letter. I don't know whether the ladies told you about the letter or
Yeah.
not, but in any case,
Okay,
all right, so we'll get to it next time on the table.
all right,
All right, thank you.
good, thank you.
All right. The next project is awesome. As if I
You
knew.
sound like super tired.
I should have brought cookies.
You know you should.
Always a good idea.
You're probably using coffee,
I
right?
think that would be considered to be
Not cooking.
bribing the board or
No, it's
something.
fine.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
All right, so, quick recap. I believe in your pile, did you give out the letter from the ZBA? I don't.
Yes,
So in your pile, there was
there's
a
two
letter
motions from the ZBA.
or a motion from the ZBA, which represents the decision by the ZBA. In which they approved
The
two
100 foot
variances.
Green buffer.
One was, hang on, I got it right here. One was a variance for a flood overlay zone. And the other was a variance for the stream buffer. They approved both of those. So you have that. Dave, where are we with the building inspector approving the waiver or whatever it is you need to get for the FEMA flood zone, floodplain?
Send it to, I believe it goes to DEC or no FEMA.
I don't think it goes to FEMA.
Only if you appeal if you want to appeal that you don't believe you're in the flood hazard area, you can appeal to FEMA. But Michael can do it on his own. He just has to file with DEC, I believe.
Yeah, she has to fill out
A form,
Right.
and she has it, and she said.
You're
I
not
filled it out
appealing
right.
this right here
No,
to FEMA, you're just trying to get the development.
So who has the form?
Yeah.
Alyssa does,
Alyssa,
and
it-
Mike.
And Mike,
It's an application to do it, to make sure we put all the stuff back in there.
so Dave, would you check with Mike tomorrow? I know we met with them on Friday. I thought it was gonna get done, but. All right, so we'll check with Mike and find out if there's any holdup on it. If so, why? But yeah, you're right. He just needs to, you have an application, he approves it or he doesn't approve it, one or the other.
Right, Alyssa said she had everything she needed, so.
Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do, so there's little else, and of course, if the board has any questions or comments, fine. But what I wanted to do tonight, anticipating that we would get the flood hazard paperwork from Mike, I'd like to set the public hearing for November 10th. But let's first, if the board has any questions, fire away. If you remember 2 meetings ago, we got a new map. We did approve the setback from the middle of the road. We did that. And really, it was just a ZBA. They got it done. Now it's just this one little final piece of paperwork. So, and we did make a determination of. Yeah, we already determined it was unlisted, uncoordinated. We did that already, so that's done. So I'll entertain a motion to set the public hearing for November 10th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Jennifer makes it, Helena seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Zorian is absent. So Stacy, tomorrow we have just one day to get this into the Shawanga.
That's okay, I've done it once, I can do it again.
Okay, cool. So we'll get that into the Shawanga to be posted by this Friday, or rather next Friday. We have to get it in a week and a half ahead of time.
So do we need, we'll have the public hearing, assuming that the floodplain.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
So should we amend that motion on that?
we can. Jennifer, you made the motion.
I'll make the
Just
motion
amend it.
with the amended that we received the waiver from the building department.
Flood hazard designation from FEMA that we get that from the CEO.
Yes.
Okay, all of that,
Flood development permit.
flood development.
Everything he said, I make a motion.
And I'll second it again.
You'll second everything that she amended.
That's what it said on rebuild out. Okay.
So Cindy, whatever magic you can work with that office, and Dave will check tomorrow.
I'll call him back too. I'm gonna say I can ask.
And that's really it for tonight.
Yeah.
Dave, there's nothing else?
I think those are the only two things, the hearing and that,
Right.
and getting that permit confirmed, right? You want a draft decision?
Yeah, I want to draft, so, yes, I want a draft decision
Okay.
for the next meeting,
Awesome.
okay?
That was quick. I guess.
Bring
we'll
cookies.
Have dinner and we'll bring cookies next time.
Perfect.
Any favorites? Any favorites?
I told you that.
Plus you got it early night. Right?
No, this is like.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe not you, but.
Okay, next project is Amy and Alex and Amy Lewis. Bill Akers isn't here yet. He's representing that project. So what we're going to do. I can't believe we have nothing to do. We're waiting for Bill Akers.
What is going on?
Thank you.
How about we sneak out and end the meeting?
They make a motion.
There's a back door. There's a back door.
news.
The pub is there.
He did, you know what, he did tell me he had a meeting in Marlborough
Everything.
and he should be here by 7:30, so we're running a little bit.
You can run the break.
10-minute break.
Well, we just do it, right?
Yeah, Scott. You know what, Scott, why don't you stay there? You're okay there.
Not sick anymore.
No, just in case Bill Akers comes.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll get confused that you took his, that you're talking on his behalf.
No, I'm not doing that.
All right, so I have. They prepared this gave, not gave to my immediate right. And Stacy, this is in the package also?
Yes.
Okay, so in
There's
your
2
package,
pages not stable.
Oh, but
in your package, there's a document,
But
It-
number.
front and back.
Sure.
It says to Rick Jones from Dave Church, Reed Granite, Environmental Assessment Basics. So there's 18 items on this list. And they bear a kind of a strange semblance to the seeker determination of significance that we eventually have to do. It's similar to another list that I have, but I asked Dave to expand it along with his comments. It didn't get out to you this morning by email, it's because we only decided to do this late last week. But in all seriousness, we need to begin to move towards the determination of significance. So tonight I want to begin to bat around those items that you all agree are not significant, if you would, or need no more work. Let's put it that way, because I don't want to actually do the formal determination tonight. I want to wait and make sure the public is here. But I want to go through each of the items and just, does anybody have any issues with them? And Dave, and if anybody doesn't remember what's involved in them, just say so. And Dave, being the expert, both Daves being the expert, can just elaborate on what each of these items means in the context of what we have to eventually do with seeker. So Dave, I'm going to ask about number 1, since I'm honestly only looking at this today. Land means the land use, correct?
The land sink, you.
May involve construction on a physical alteration of the land surface.
Okay,
And there's, as you recall, I borrowed these from the part 2 of the EAF. There's a series of questions under every category. With Rick, we kind of whipped through some of these and his encouragement, I highlighted the ones I think deserve the bulk of your attention at this point. I'm not dismissing the others. It's just that going through the questions in the other 13 categories, it doesn't seem to be much that triggers the possibility of a large or moderate impact. So
I'm going to rattle through them, and I'm not going to call out seeker.
and there's a lot of overlap in these categories, so.
So I'm not going to call out any seeker terminology. I'm just simply going to say, are you satisfied that this project has impact that we have to discuss further or has no impact. And we can lay it aside. So land, in mind, Jennifer, did you want to say something?
No, not yet.
Okay, so on land,
Categories include depth of water table. Is it shallow, for example? Are there steep slopes? Is there bedrock exposure? Are they gonna remove a lot of material? Is construction gonna take more than a year? Those kinds of questions. Is it a coastal erosion area?
So some of these I feel like goes together in a way, so if we're gonna flag noise, odor and light, then we should probably flag land as well.
why?
Because those analyses go together.
How does
Land-
land and
land-
noise go together?
Land should be, I think land should be understood as as a physical issue, the physical impact on land, or the land is not good for the development, then it's negative physical impact on development. It's not land use as the chair suggests.
Right, but oftentimes, like, well, I guess people are concerned about the generator when it comes to noise. And light, so it's not so much the construction impacts.
Noise.
But it points to location.
It does, and typically. In my experience, when you look at those issues, you also look at the construction. You look at what happens during construction and you look at the. Proposed project, in this case, it's, X amount of land disturbance with. Whatever they're proposing there, but that's just been my experience, and we did receive a comment about stormwater. And it's not to say that I think that there's a significant adverse impact on the land, that's not what I'm suggesting, I'm just saying that if you are going to. Evaluate things like noise and odor and light, you would typically, that would also inherently sort of include some analysis on. The physical impacts to the land, not that that's significant or requires an EIS, that's all I'm saying.
I guess I'm
And the
I guess
information.
I'm not
included,
particularly
and I don't think-
I'm not particularly agreeing with you. Noise is noise, and we know what that is. We'll deal with that in the site plan. Remember.
And I
still-
think we have a lot of it, but I don't know if there's stormwater controls in the drawings, that would be my.
Yeah, that I'm not sure, but I do have a quick
Construction.
question.
Well, even stormwater control, there's no, how is there any stormwater?
That's surface water.
Construction stormwater.
Oh, yeah, so that would be presumably part of the plans. There'll be a plan set as part of the site plan where they go through all of the.
And that would be your
Protections.
analysis on the land.
Here it's, do we need more information? Remember,
You guys talking about each other. I would suggest that that's part of the analysis on water. I'd also suggest that if you have temporary, construction can have significantly
temporary.
different impacts than permanent, but though that doesn't change the general category. So if you consider about erosion, for example, it could be a temporary impact on water or a temporary, if it is gonna be erosion, temporary impact on the land. That could be destructive.
And the reason I'm doing this is because. I wanna make sure that we're precise in what we prepare and finalize.
I would suggest that.
That's
the-
all.
The categorizations and sort of the homework aspects of this are flexible. We don't need to be picture perfect on all the categories. Much
No.
more important to be able to. For a neg deck or a pos deck, to explain the rationale with evidence, why we're there. That's where we're going, and you're right, there will be some overlap at times, it's not that important to get it in the right box.
Okay,
Quick question, did we ever ask how many days of construction? If we did, I don't
No.
recall.
no, we never asked.
Okay.
And we'll,
Because
it's not,
when we talk about noise, odor, and light, and then impacts of construction to,
No, we've never asked
the nearby receptors, it's just all of a sudden I just realized that.
2 to 3 months,
Okay,
it should be in the AF, but 2 to
Yeah.
3 months,
thank you.
and that's not every day for 3 months.
Correct, but
It's a staging, but generally when day one starts, within
Yeah,
3 months it should be
okay.
done.
thanks.
so, I think what I'll do is, Scott, instead of having to press you for answers on everything, what I want to do is come up with all the questions and then we'll get you the,
Sorry,
no, it's all right.
I was asking, to be clear, I was asking the board.
Yeah.
I interrupted,
Yeah,
but I won't
Okay.
interrupt with information.
If we ask you, I would like you to, but I think we want to kick things around ourselves, but
Sure.
no, we don't have the days of construction, so that's one thing we have to ask. Geologic features, anybody have any concerns with that? on the site, remember the pad site is 50 by 50? Surface water,
Now I have a question here. Does surface water, is this for Mr. Church? Does surface water include wetlands?
Yes.
Okay,
Although
Yeah.
wetlands will also include habitat.
right, but I'm asking just to clarify.
so surface water concerns if it,
Well,
as to wetlands?
yeah, and, right, and so whether there's other locations that may be more appropriate, we would have to be looking at, and there are wetlands on that parcel that have been delineated, and just making sure.
Yeah, there is a map that shows where the wetlands, one of the maps that shows the wetlands, and if we were to make a recommendation that the town will be moved away from the apartments, for example,
Correct.
that would have implications for the wetlands.
So that was the purpose of.
Further back.
So
how far away from those wetlands do we know?
I don't know, but I know, if I don't have the plans in
Yeah,
front of me, but I think we're
It's
within
mapped,
150
they were mapped.
feet of the apartment house.
Excuse
I think we're within 150 feet of the apartment house. So if that tower was to fall, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So that, I have that in my mind. I don't have the distance to the wetlands.
Right, oh, I see, yes, right.
I don't know.
But if we-
They were mapped,
Right,
when someone grab a map, we can
yeah, we,
tell you in an instant how far away they are.
Yeah.
They're not far, but they're, the proposals outside of the wetland and the buffer
at this time.
at this time.
Okay. Groundwater, anybody have a concern with groundwater? Hearing none. Slutty? Air pollution, is specifically, Dave, air pollution,
Yeah, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and various.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I did hear a comment tonight about chemical runoff, and I don't know if anybody else caught that. It seems like, yeah, there'll be runoff from the cement pad that's made, that's called flushing the
Well,
cement truck, and you have to do
True.
that under in a certain fashion, you have to have a place where that cement
well,
goes.
let's say we're going forward for an approval, what we could do is either forbid the practice, because what a lot of people do is after a concrete pour, they will wash out the truck.
Right on the ground.
Right, and just dump it on the ground. So either they would have to provide an area or do it off-site. But then if you mandate it to do it off-site, God knows where they're gonna do it. But it is a common construction practice and it is common to regulate it or make a mention of it in your approval.
And again, it's part of one of those plan sets that shows where the material is gonna be, where the truck is gonna wash out there. Okay, now we get into plants and animals. I'm all ears,
This one, I'm
including
including tonight's discussion is obviously something we gotta talk. Yeah, the letter from Manville. And the one that Bird referenced came in today and I think it's fair to have a full discussion of it because it just came in today and it's a lengthy letter with a lot of stuff in it. My quick read of it is that it merits some looking. Because it seemed like it was backed up by a lot of good information that I want to read further into. About particularly migratory birds, so.
And I agree with Pete. And also, let's not forget the Mohonk and Minnewaska is a known migratory flyway with hawks, and they have the hawk counts spring and fall.
Yeah.
And that kind of triggered me today when I
Yeah.
heard some of the comments and then I was looking at Manville's letter.
Yeah, the kettling, particularly the kettling is something that migratory birds, raptors in particular, do along the ridge. It's a known thing for birders. And important, I think it's an important consideration that we need to look at.
other comments.
I haven't had a chance to read that letter, but I'm wondering if and I feel like, we need to gather as much information as possible. Do you think we need expert opinion on, someone who knows more than we do on this?
So I have a comment about that. It's not me to give you that expert.
Yeah.
It's what?
It's not me to give you that expert opinion, but I just have a comment to make about the letters that we got. I did read the one from Berg in detail.
There was two.
Yeah, and the second one from,
No, there was two from Berg.
no, you're right, there is two from Berg. So I read the long one from Berg. And I didn't read the one yet from Mr. Manville. So I just have and I'm probably picking a little bit, and eventually, Scott, I'm not gonna ask you to comment tonight, but we're gonna need some information, I think, from Verizon/Tectonic. So I'm gonna jump around a little bit. In one of the documents, it's either the November 18th original submission or it's the second submission. I think it's the second submission in section 4. There's a whole section from Fish and Wildlife. And the people who did the submission to Fish and Wildlife are those people from Texas. Do you remember that?
GSS.
GSS.
Yeah.
We didn't know how they fit into the whole thing. Well, they have a biology section in their firm, in addition to doing historical site analysis. And they are the ones that submitted the information to Fish and Wildlife. So my take is multifold in general about fish and wildlife, which includes birds, salamanders, everything else. First of all, Fish and Wildlife didn't really send, I'm gonna paraphrase what I believe I read, send a final comment and missed, I think they had a 15-day window to comment, and they didn't make that 15-day window, and so therefore the assumption is it's okay. I don't know anything more than that. It could be they didn't have the staff on site to do any more in the way of comment. I don't know. GSS's comments range from no migratory bird impact, quote unquote, in the GSS report. It's got some of this stuff I need for you to come back and quote us chapter and verse from either Fish and Wildlife or from GSS, so we can wrap our hands around it instead of going through about 1,000 pages of documents. But it says specifically, GSS, that there are no impact on migratory birds. Now that's from the point of view of somebody that Tectonic hired in order to add information into the various documents. So that was number one. Number two, there was something there from Fish and Wildlife, but I may have gotten it confused with GSS, that said, first, monarch butterflies are not present on the site, period. And that one of the 2 bats that were pointed out as being endangered or protected, only one was found on the site and the other was not found on the site. Question mark. And again, Scott, I leave that to you to suss out and dig out all the information on that. So my sense on Fish and
I
Wildlife.
think we have, I'm not trying to interrupt, but I mean, I think our position on US Fish and Wildlife is it's approved and we can move forward with it, obviously pending your review.
So I need something, I know we talked about, I want at some point chapter and verse answers to every comment. I'm not there yet and asking for that because the public hearing is still open.
Sure.
But in terms of what the board is discussing now, I need something for you. I know you sent a letter in.
Right.
I can't tell you how many letters and files. So I need for you on this question of Fish and Wildlife to act as if we're the court and you're presenting your case. And of course, we are in a way a court that's going to weigh the information. So I need that rather than all of us digging through and coming up with different answers to what is easily explainable by the applicant. So I need that.
Okay.
One other thing.
Sure, Helena.
We're discussing US Fish and Wildlife, but New York State is also a regulatory agency who should probably weigh in on the migratory birds, et cetera.
I'm gonna have
Just
to,
putting
I'm
it
gonna
out
have to
there,
defer
I
to somebody
think.
else who knows whether or not they have a say in this matter.
Well, I think that there was, and again, I did a very, very quick read of the letter from Manville. But I believe that they said there were some things excluded in the questions to Fish and Wildlife by GSS specifically about migratory birds. And I want to go back and reread it, but it kind of stuck something in my mind. So it's kind of like, if you're asking a study and you don't ask the proper question, you're not going to get the answer that's appropriate, right? So,
Right.
so it's, I have to, it's a full disclosure that I haven't gone through that
tooth and nail because we just got it today, but I think it's something. that
Yeah, we all just got it today. I didn't get it
Yeah,
from man.
so I too have not gone through it with a fine tooth comb.
So Dave, do you know, or Jennifer, from your backgrounds, does New York State? Should we be looking for commentary from New York State?
Well, there is the Heritage Program, is that what?
I'm
There's,
thinking,
well, we did just to explain, we did circulate for lead agency, DEC was included.
Yes.
They, to my knowledge, they have no permit authority or role in this project, unless the wetland comes in play.
Right.
Which is not proposed at this time. I, as a brief employee at DEC, so you're much fuller former employee knows more. I am confused these days about when DEC intercedes on projects and when they don't.
right,
The project's been shared with them through the seeker process. We've received no response. Could you push the Heritage Program? But if you choose to, sure. Heritage Program is a fish and wildlife version. Like I said, that's not completely fair.
Well, I
But
guess,
outside of Albany, there's a program at DEC where they
I guess my question would be-
they inventory and track these issues.
so I guess I have a question of who has regulatory authority. Is it the Fish and Wildlife or is it DEC?
Well, they went to Fish and Wildlife because of the NEPA review,
Right,
the
okay,
federal environmental review.
They
Okay.
both have authority.
they both, yeah,
okay.
So the Migratory Bird Treaty Act is federal. My understanding is that the state doesn't review that. So that's one thing.
Okay.
But when we talk about threatened and endangered species, that's both the federal and the state. So for example, bald eagles are not a federally protected species, but they are a state protected
Right.
species. So that's an example of why you would have two reviews, because they can be different. And to everyone's comment about, well, Fish and Wildlife didn't respond, they don't always respond. I think they skim, my instinct is that they skim submissions. And it has to meet a certain bar for them to invest the staff time to review, and that's where you really want the state to come in, and you expect the state, because there is that overlap there. And it's particularly with New York State, I find it to be more restrictive than the federal requirements oftentimes. So we really expect the state to come in and review and provide feedback on threatened and endangered.
So here as a procedural matter, we did circulate, we didn't get comment from the DEC. I guess there's lots of agencies that we can reach out to. We need your comment, we need your comment. I believe we covered most of the ones that had anything to say about this.
Well, I have a
What-
question though, did we?
Dave, what, do we need to go to DEC and ask them specifically or to any other agencies to comment on something that we've already asked them to do?
No. I mean, you're the lead agency. You should understand that, your determination of significance and the technical issues that go into it are not delegable. So whatever Fish and Wildlife Service is doing in terms of their own regulation is their own thing. And they can choose to comment to you, or you can choose to ask for their comment, unless it's required by law to get a comment. But all any other agency is doing to you is comment. They're giving you information. At the end of the day, that just gets factored into your own determination as to whether this is significant enough to require an environmental impact statement.
All right, so for Fish and Wildlife, whether they missed it because they're too busy or they missed it because there's nothing, they're not worried about it. I kind of consider that to be closed. Fish and Wildlife,
Functionally, it is unless they tell you something.
they
I
didn't
think
tell
that-
us anything.
I think the fundamental question for the board is whether Fish and Wildlife comments or not, or whether DEC comments or not, or anybody else for that matter. Does the board feel that it has the ability to evaluate all of the stuff that's come in from all sides, whether or not these agencies comment by itself? Or would the board feel more comfortable having its own technical advisor crunch everything, given all the I mean, there's a lot of mentions in all this, right? I mean,
That's where I was going, and I think we all need to sit with the information that we have and review that, and then make a decision as to whether we need someone to answer questions on answer our questions and walk us through, what we're.
one of the things that I noted from, especially the letter that came in today from the outside expert, the Fish and Wildlife person, is that he made a number of sort of generalized assertions. He didn't say that this is going to impact the species here. He kind of made a number of generalized assertions based on species that are around, and then the citations to other literature. and frankly, I didn't have the time to read that. Even if I did, I'm not sure how well I would do with it, but in other words, there's a number of layers here of scientific analysis. And so the question for the board is, I mean, you can read all that stuff, including all the, you know, the papers that are cited, and make sure that does it all fit together in terms of raising an issue that this particular site requires an environmental impact statement or not. But that's what I think the lay of the land is. So fish, and you know what, the end of the day, Fish and Wildlife, they comment, you don't know what they're gonna say, but I think you're looking for a silver bullet that may, you know, if they wanna give you one, it's fine, but at the end of the day, there's a decision-making process here that's fairly daunting. And the board needs to figure out what it needs to do to get that, because otherwise you're reading all of those papers yourself, which may or may not work for you.
Can I ask a question? I know we circulated to DEC for lead agency. Did we circulate to DEC for a project review for threatened and endangered? Or was it just the lead? I don't think we did that. And that's what I'm looking for. I want, because typically you expect the feds and the state to come back and help guide you. But if they're not giving you a response, then it's hard to know where to look. But I don't know if we submitted to DEC.
No, we
I
didn't.
don't think we did.
I'm not even sure I know the difference or the rest of the
Well,
board.
did the applicant,
Well, yeah,
because that's typically what happens,
Yeah.
is the applicant
yes.
to complete the EAF has to do that.
And you get a letter back. And
Mhm.
usually it's like a step process, where
Right.
like the DEC would come back and say, hey, we looked at your project. This is what these are the issues we flagged. They're not gonna tell you whether your project has an impact, but they're gonna say, this is what shows up for us. And then you have to take that information and decide how deep you wanna go with the
Right.
analysis of whether there's an impact or not. And I don't think, I mean, I get that we're not gonna hear from the feds, but I'd like to hear from the state. I'd like the state to comment on it.
We could submit a
Well, let me ask you-
request to the Heritage Program at DEC and see what you get.
So
I would suggest you do that soon, because I don't think it's quick necessarily.
I'm racking my brains to
And is it just,
see
But
who's
it'd
an
be a reasonable-
ornithologist. You know, because the way the agency would work is clearly there's no permits from the DEC for this action, which is why there was no comment and we are lead agency. But it would be interesting to speak or get some, I don't want to say expert witness, but somebody who deals with migratory birds. And, you know, they mentioned short-eared owls, et cetera, and I believe harriers, et cetera. To guide us here, to provide us with some information. But, you know, I don't think they have any permit jurisdiction. I don't know.
So I need some guidance.
Well, I mean, there's I think what Jennifer was bringing up, there's the question of who measures if there's gonna be a tape of a
Right.
species,
there
right?
could be a bald eagle nest right there. We don't know.
Well, that,
We haven't submitted,
I think that there,
right?
well, my experience with that is local knowledge is actually more valuable than
better.
what they know in
Oh,
Albany.
they know what quite a bit.
I
People do
suspect
call
the
me.
people in the room that know where the eagle's nests are here. But a lot of this stuff is online now, except the specific locations. So
True.
like archaeological features, because they don't want people to go mess or rob them. The state, most agencies will put generic information on shade areas.
Right.
We may ask, the applicant may have relied on the online information.
So let me ask our
We have to
experts.
go back to the
what
FEI, the environmental assessment form for threatened and endangered species.
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't have
I
that.
didn't one of your binders quick.
What are you asking?
Was there a hit for that? Cause I know, you know,
What,
as you
bald
mentioned,
eagles?
they won't provide like a specific location of an eagle's nest.
Alina,
but
what are you asking? I'm sorry.
is it
How
in the
did they answer
EAF?
Right.
In the
In the
full-
mapper, there was no hit for bald eagles. Is that yours?
Anything that's, just, yes, or any endangered, okay,
Well, northern long-eared bat is.
right,
that-
that's
is
one,
basically everywhere here.
right.
Yeah. So let
Not
me,
nests per se, but foraging.
so let me ask you, Dave, let me ask you a direct question. It sounds, this Dave, a direct or this Dave. It sounds like there's some members of the board, maybe the whole board, on this issue of migratory birds, we don't have enough information. The way to get more information is either to write to Heritage Program, or is this something that might be leading us to say, well, we don't have enough information. This and some other things that we don't have information on, and we get to a point of a pause deck in terms of determination of significance. Is that where we're headed?
Well, a pause deck is a process for.
Getting
formal
more
process
information.
For getting more information.
So we have one piece of information. It sounds like we don't know enough about migratory birds, certainly around the table, that's for sure. And or we don't know enough from the information, maybe it's there, that the applicant has given us to be able to definitively say migratory birds is not an issue. My belief is that I read that as a comment from GSS, not I believe, I know that's who I read it for, and that's not the DEC, that's not Fish and Wildlife, that was GSS, a biologist for the, so on one count, it sounds like part of this issue on plants and animals, we have a question about migratory birds that we can't answer. Is that fair enough?
Dave, what is the process for getting information from the Heritage?
You write them. Like, that's what I would do, like, but I don't know if Helena may know if you can actually contact them more directly, but.
I could look into them.
Well, it seems like it's a hole in our knowledge, so I would suggest that maybe we should do that.
So Peter, I agree with you. I wonder if we should wait to see if there's others that might, when we do the formal, I mean, we could do this now, or there's so many of these types of things, and after I get some answers from the applicant, maybe we're heading to a pause deck, even though this is unlisted. It'd be not unusual, it happened before, but it might be a pause deck, so why don't we just hold off until we finish this entire process? So the other comment that I had was on a letter from Bird having to do with the preemption. I think I'm using the right terminology, having to do with, can you consider RF waves as impacting humans, impacting animals, so on and so forth. And I picked up on, Bird keeps using, and maybe going far afield, you tell me if I am, I'm getting into an area that I shouldn't be commenting on, but Bird keeps referring to quote unquote two cases, the Jaeger case, which was a case in Connecticut, where in that case, the court found that the broad interpretation of the law, the statute, is that it applies to the environment, broadly meant, not to humans specifically, not to animals, but broadly the environment. And in the opinion of the applicant, the environment means the environment. And I believe that's what the applicant believes. But then he goes on to also quote another court case from 2019, 2021, the Environmental Health Trust versus the Federal Communications Commission. And it's on exactly these rules having to do with the RF. It goes on for 35 pages. I only pulled out a couple of them, but it goes on to say, and Berg has quoted it as if to say that the FCC lost the case. And I don't think as a non-lawyer that FCC actually lost the case. What the court told the FCC to do is you didn't do enough of your homework. And in fact, what the court says in terms of RF impact on humans, impact on anything, to be clear, we, the court, take no position in the scientific debate regarding the health and environmental effects of RF radiation. So contrary to some of the things I believe Berg has said in many of his letters, that this case definitively rules in favor of the environmentalists, if you would. The court goes on to say, we merely conclude that the commission's cursory analysis of material record evidence was insufficient as a matter of law, not as a matter of science, but as a matter of law. So they tell them to go back and redo their analysis of the criteria around the impact of RF radiation, to redo their look-see at that. They had to open up an investigation of what should apply, what shouldn't apply. And the court found that they didn't do an adequate job. But the court didn't rule on the the scientific merits of the argument one way or the other. So when we talk about the science of it, it's like, I don't know why we're talking about it. Because in the sense that the court has said, you have to take that into consideration. The court says right here, or at least one of the items that Berg is always quoting, we're not ruling on the scientific evidence one way or the other.
What connection are you making between the court case and the board's deliberations? I'm not following your counsel.
I don't understand your question.
The court case, that's one that I'm thinking of, and I only looked at it a few weeks ago. Called into question, in fact, it validated certain regulations that the FCC did because the court ruled that the FCC hadn't studied them enough, if I remember correctly. So it was a very narrow thing. It was about the regulation and about what, and I actually had a question for people that are interested, is how to interpret that in terms of whether the regulation is still valid, but it doesn't get to the meaning of it.
Well, I guess Berg keeps saying, and many of his, and we hear from the opponents to the tower, that we need to, and we must take a look at the science behind the statement around the impact of RF radiation.
Yeah.
And the case actually doesn't, Berg uses the case as evidence for the fact that we have to look further.
His letters cite 5 other cases relating to that, not that case. There's a lot of stuff here, and frankly, for the board, I need to really, I need to go through it all in pretty fine detail and give you an evaluation of it. But Berg, what his primary contention is that I think it's 5 cases. There's 1 district court case, I forget where it's from, and 4, I think, circuit court cases. The 1 district court case comes out very clearly on the side that the prohibition on looking at the environmental impacts of RF radiation extend to the natural environment. Because that's the question relating to the birds. At least as far as radiation is concerned, there's also questions relating to the cell tower and physical tower and things like that. But that 1 court case comes out and it says that the board can't look at RF impacts on wildlife as well as humans. Then there's 4 other cases that, and Berg basically what he's saying is that case is unimportant compared to the 4 other cases, but the 4 other cases, it's a linguistic game primarily. The court's really not looking, and again, I want to make it clear, I haven't looked at these in detail yet, I've looked at them in general, so, you know, wait until the final version comes out. But as I understand it, those 4 cases were kind of looking at the question of the extent to which it covers actually human impacts, and the court used language that what Bob is saying is that it equates human impacts with the environment in terms of interpreting the word environment in the statute. But it's an unsound logic, let's put it that way, as best I can see. The problem with those other cases is that they don't look at whether or not a board can look at the impact on wildlife. It's really more focused on humans. And so any other game you're playing that is basically this language. And so at this point, what I think, and I'm gonna solidify this, is that the best interpretation of the law right now is that the board should not be looking at the RF impacts on wildlife. However, I don't think there's any definitive, other than the language of the statute itself, which, I mean, it says environment, so any other interpretation has to deal with that. It says you can't look at the impacts of RF on the environment. Usually the environment is interpreted to include the natural environment, otherwise it'd be a rather strange construction. But one of the things that people look at when they're looking at federal law is, you know, clear interpretations. And right now there is no clear interpretation of it. And so I think if the board was truly concerned that there was going to be a substantial adverse impact on the environment in terms of the natural, in terms of the species, and that there was some pretty compelling evidence of that. Like, you think birds are going to be dying in this area because of this one reason or another, and it's an important flyway. Just as an example, there's really good evidence of that. You can ethically come up with your own decision, and, you know, ultimately, it might go to a court, and the court would then rule on that definitively. So that's the way the law gets changed. But I would tell you at this point, pending further review, and which I haven't had the chance to do yet, partly because of COVID, partly because of travel and other things. The odds are that the court would find that you could not, that it would not be legitimate to lower the impact on wildlife.
So Dave, you're gonna look at, and there was an opinion about this thing called preemption. What should we be looking at in terms of the RF impact on wildlife?
Yeah, it's the meaning of the Telecommunications Act. And like I said, the biggest issue is that it says environment. I mean, so anybody that's gonna tell you that it's gonna impact you know, species, it has to overcome that word.
So you'll give us,
And I think that the district court case kind of focused on that. I need to take a really hard look at that. But it is, you know, it's a district court in a different state, and so you could generate a conflict if you felt important enough about it, but that's where it would be. The arguments that the courts have equated the environment with humans is.
so when do you think you'll be able to give us
Within a week.
paper? Within a week? Great.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm providing some information in response to Bob Berg, so I hopefully have that by the end of the week. But I have.
You said you weren't gonna do that.
Well, when he says stuff like there's only
So
one
I don't
case.
think, Chair, I don't think that the applicant should be involving our discussion.
So Dave, I know you feel that way. How do we get valid information in order to move forward and not duplicate? So if we didn't know that he being the applicant's representative was gonna be working on this, Dave could be going off doing something. And we could save time by him spending the money rather than him. So I understand your
Maybe at
concern.
the end of this discussion, we can say, here are the points that we want to hear
In
from
fact,
you about.
Scott did submit a short comment today in response to that, on this very issue, so, and then he said he was going to submit it. Sure, you can, but, you know.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah.
The bigger issues is,
Procedure.
let's deal with procedure. Dave, I understand your concern. I have a concern too, when people keep popping out, if you would, talking either out of turn, whatever. Say for the public, if the public was to talk out of turn, I'd tell them, that's it, you're done. You know, we're done with the public hearing. How does the board? I think it's a valuable piece of information. If you think we'd rather wait till the end of it, okay. I hopefully remember, but I think it's a valuable piece of information coming from the applicant to tell our attorney, hey, I'm doing this already. I'm doing some of this for you. Rather than you spinning your wheels doing it.
You know, that's fine. I'm very happy to see what the applicant or anybody else submits. At the end of the day, let's just be starters. Bob Berg has, you know, he cited and he discusses at least 4 or 5 federal court cases. And as you saw from just the reading you did, unlike very often state courts, federal courts look at every aspect, typically very often look at numerous aspects of issues. Each of the cases is probably, you know, at least 15 pages long on this issue, if not longer. And so take, you know, Scott's gonna do the same thing. He's because he can't just give his own opinion. He's gonna want to say what the court says. I've got to read this stuff anyway. I've got to I've got to read it and decide and see who has a better argument, under what circumstances A is right or B is right. So I'm happy to look at it, but there's a very significant pile of paper relating to very fine interpretations of
So why don't you do this? And Scott,
including the case you were talking about, which was the other court case, which actually invalidated certain FCC regulations because they hadn't studied them enough.
So Scott, I would ask you again, not to interrupt the process that we're going through here. At the end of the meeting, I'd like you to make some notes and say, hey, I'm taking care of this. How do you want to handle it?
That's what I was gonna suggest exactly.
Let's
take notes of everything everyone's saying, so we can just.
Dave makes a good point about, you know, the perception and part of the public might be, you know, a little bit too much back and forth between, in our time, there is appropriate time for us to go back and forth, but we want to have our time. What I'd also like to suggest, what would be wrong with the two of you talking as to who's doing what, right?
Look, with
Yes or
all
no?
respect, no, I mean, they've made their points very clear, and lawyers will, if you ask a lawyer, you want to say anything else, they typically will, actually, a court will cut it off after the third one, they just, they will not, and that flatly won't allow it, and an ALJ will cut it off after the second one, so. I fully understand their points, I've got to ultimately, it comes down to what do these court cases mean, how do they get about, how do they get punched together? And I'll present that to the board.
All right, so-
They're, well, anybody's welcome to submit anything, and I will read it, but it will also increase, the amount of effort.
So
involved.
Scott, if you just respect, hold everything until the end when we'll ask you, hey, let's just summarize who's doing what, all right? Dave, you okay with that?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so you're gonna get us something in a week, you've got something in the works, appreciate knowing that. Anything else on plants and animals? Does anybody want to give an uneducated opinion about at this point, about their view towards impact on plants and animals? In terms of this tower? And not hearing any, I'll give mine, which is, I understand the concern for all the beauty on the Shawangunk Bridge. I was hiking a good part of yesterday through Mohawk. And it's indeed incredible. If the gentleman's still here, the miniature pitch pines and I know that there's a stand of even smaller ones elsewhere that I haven't seen. I'm just befuddled how a 50 by 50 plot, putting a tower on that plot is gonna have any impact on plants and animals, except for those in the 55-50 plot. And the RF stuff, perhaps, somebody asked me point blank, do you agree with what the feds have told you you have to agree to? It's like, no, I don't like being told what I have to agree to. But I keep my counsel to myself on items that are prohibited, literally, to work out their way into the decision.
Can I suggest on the wildlife issues?
Now, let me finish. Am I getting us into trouble?
I don't know why you're giving it an opinion
Well,
on.
because I'm the chair.
I would suggest.
I let you go as a lawyer for quite some time.
The board is going to be required to compile and evaluate evidence on all of these issues.
All right, so I asked the board if they would like to express their opinion as non-scientists and non-lawyers as to whether or not what they feel about the plants and animals. If nobody wants to comment, I won't comment any further.
I think it merits further study on it, the heritage thing, so that's what I said before.
Anybody else?
I agree with that. Yeah.
I am not a biologist, and given some of the information we've received, I don't believe I have the expertise to opine on it. And that's why I would be interested to have someone review it on our behalf and provide us with their thinking on it.
Peter, is that what you meant when you said further study?
Heritage, yep, heritage. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not an ornithologist, but I do have concerns based on what
You mean getting an expert opinion?
I do.
So Jen, is that exactly what you mean, or do you mean further than migratory birds?
I don't know, I'm not an expert, so I'm reticent to say what the method would be to evaluate it, but we've received information that I don't have the expertise to lead through it and determine whether it's accurate or not, because that's not my area of expertise. I
just looked up quickly on New York Natural Heritage Program. There's a project screening request form. You can submit online unless it's exceeds a very small amount of data, then you have to mail it. Or email it if you can. Which I can do, which sounds like you'd like, right?
Well, I think Rick wanted to find
They
out.
say specifically, however, that they review the database for rare species and significant natural resources, and they report records in the vicinity of the site. The National Heritage Program does not have the authority to comment on permit requirements or potential impacts, nor can we give official clearance to any project. So if you want an opinion,
They're not gonna give it.
they're not gonna give it to you.
And especially, this is a very sort of fact, not only fact specific, but this is gonna require evaluation and comparison of different factors here. Like this is near the flyway, but it's a mile away. It's X number of miles away, right? And at some point, I mean, the people who are opposed to this are citing the factors that raise concerns, right? That it's near all these species, it's near all these things, et cetera. But how near is near? How tall is tall? How impactful is impactful? And the real question for you guys is, do you feel you're in a good position to make that balls and strikes call, which is going to be a judgment call, although there'll be, you want to get somebody to help you, marshal the evidence, maybe you do that yourselves, but ultimately it's a balls and strikes call for how tall is too tall, how close is too close, how impactful is too impactful? Or do you want to get somebody that knows when they cite certain facts, that knows how to put those facts in proportion to something else?
So it doesn't sound like we're gonna get anything out of the National Heritage Group.
Well, you're gonna get some more factual information.
But we're not gonna get opinion.
And even if they don't, I think it's also a procedural step that's important. And even if they don't respond, or they respond that there's nothing, that's an important data point for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd suggest, we put in that it's for a cell tower application, there are obviously timing concerns with that, maybe we'll move it along quicker, we can't.
And it's usually a 30-day turnaround.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't say anything about that, but hopefully,
It's
if Stacy, if you've got a little time. Cause I can't pull some of these files that need. We could get it out the next day or two,
Okay.
see how it goes. Is that what you like?
Yep.
I think so. I think it's another data point for us, and it is, as Never said, it's a procedural issue. It's part of our due diligence to gather as much information as we can.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough information to say it's not gonna be an impact.
Yeah.
There's been, playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
So if we drill down a little bit more and get some more information, we'll all be comfortable with our moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on plants and animals? How about ag resources?
No.
Anybody? No? Okay, that was an easy one. Should I skip over aesthetic resources and go to Bill Akers?
No.
Well, aesthetics is a big conversation, so
That's the.
Let's have it.
you wanna go right at that or do the 10 through 18 first?
Do 10 through 18.
Do 10 through 18. We'll come back to aesthetics. Bill, we'll get to you in a minute. Historic and archaeological resources,
There's a documented SHPO memo that there's no impact.
Right.
open space and recreation.
So this probably, I'm giving my professional opinion, could be this Jennifer's legitimate points.
Yeah.
Related to some of the other resource categories. But the questions are mostly about, are you gonna lose parkland? Are you gonna lose?
Well,
But
it's-
there is some relationship,
Sure.
yes.
The park issues are very significantly aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
It's just an example of overlap, but again, you don't have to, what you need to do is to evaluate the issue and then the box that.
Where it goes, it's whatever.
It's
Yeah.
whether it be a loss of recreational opportunity, which does go to the significant. The DEC's guidance on, is it a significant aesthetic
In the Venn
impact,
diagram,
right?
it's where it's overlapping aesthetic.
Yeah, I parked it all under aesthetic, but
As long as we
is there
get to
more?
it and do, obviously, we've got to do a very significant job evaluating that.
Correct.
And then we'll go
But to,
both
for
boxes.
Rick's purposes, is there anything else on open space or recreation other than that? Loss of recreational resource from an aesthetic impact that might happen. To be,
Private property.
to be determined.
But yeah.
Okay, critical environmental areas.
Those are mapped, defined resources. You don't have any.
We don't have any. Well, we had one, but it's,
You had a study,
we have
the study you did with the neighboring town. But at the time Rochester didn't designate any, Worsing did.
Okay. Transportation. Energy. Noise, odor and light. Well,
I've
no,
highlighted, you've had discussion about the generator noise, and other operational noise. And we've got this, I don't know to what, any extent they're gonna put lighting at all there.
It said in the application,
No lights.
switch light. For,
Yeah, so you're gonna have to, these can be addressed with some site plan conditions.
Yeah.
there's a letter from Greg. I don't think it's in the community collab yet. There's a letter from him, a final letter evaluating the noise material sent by the applicant. And he's satisfied that it meets the code. I'll make sure that gets in there in the next couple of days. But there is a final one that he got me last week.
I mean, there was, to the point, the question here is, do we have enough information on the lighting? I think it's just understanding exactly how it will or will not be seen by the apartment building, but I think it's in the site plan. So it's just,
I believe it was specified as a switch light on the equipment.
That's what I read too.
yeah, so I
This
think,
is another one.
I think that it's satisfied.
And there is no light on the tower. I think
Correct.
first or second meeting we established that.
Yeah. Rick, as far as the noise, yes, the generator may meet codes. I have not seen Greg's letter, but perhaps if in our approval, we hold the cycling of the generators between daylight hours. So it, and I don't know how the cycling of the generator works, but you certainly don't want to have that generator firing off at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I think typically they do it at a set time during the day.
Yeah.
A set day of the week, every other week.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, so in
Second
our approval, we can put that performance criteria in to answer any questions about noise.
And on top of that, when you have 2 or 3 co-locators, you don't want them going off all at the same time.
No, because they're, yeah,
Because it'd be a cumulative.
it's a cumulative impact.
If there are co
As part of the secret process, in order to get to, let's say if you want to get to a negative declaration and that was the concern, you would say this is gonna be a mitigation.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
Then you put it in as a condition of approval.
Correct.
I only know because I walked by it today on a hike. There's of course a tower cluster at Sam's Point. The southernmost piece of Minnewaska.
Cell tower cluster?
Oh, there's every tower there.
Is that the one?
There's court,
By Maritanza.
Lake
Yeah,
Maritanza.
yeah.
It predates the park. I think there's been a tower, you may know, either added and certainly improvements since it was a park,
Yeah.
but it was when it was Ellenville watershed property. But point being, I heard a equipment cycle on. And it's notable. I'm just proposing perhaps Minnewaska Sam's Point unit has some established protocol for this that we could borrow from that. Because they've been dealing with the presence of towers in the park since their beginning. I don't know if you're talking to Shook still or not,
I'm still waiting to hear from them.
oh, you are, okay.
I could ask,
Maybe there's some protocol there for,
yeah, I could ask Eric.
We never did deal with,
Where the Hanks retired.
is it gonna be diesel or is it gonna be gas? And I don't know if there's a different sound diesel versus gas, a different noise level created.
I have a response for you. So to mitigate the noise, they're putting up a fence. But if you really want to mitigate the noise, if they made a masonry block wall around the generators, having a barrier close to the source is the most effective way to mitigate any noise coming from those generators. And that, might be even more visually appealing to the neighbors.
So block,
Even a wood fence.
Yes, a hard barrier.
My
as
neighbors
opposed
just
to a
put this
chain
up
link
and
fence.
reduce the noise. by
Yes, I mean, and that's in the
50%.
DEC noise guidance as well. So just, it might cost the applicants a little bit more money to have a masonry building, but I've seen masonry buildings around cell towers and things, so with the proximity to an apartment house, I think it would be reasonable to ask to have some kind of a structure to mitigate the noise.
Be a site condition, right?
Consistency with community plans and consistency with community character.
well, so the plan, consistent with plans. Is proposed that I could certainly do it unless there's volunteers to to go through the current town plans. And see what they say in the context of both the neighborhood and these kinds of facilities, if anything, and then report back to you to consider if it's the application's consistent with what's in your existing adopted plans. So it's just an exercise to go through, but it has to be done.
Dave, will you do? will
I'm
you do that?
recommending. Okay,
You do it?
sure.
Dave, when you go.
Anybody want to help, Dave?
Hans, I'll,
If you need help, I can.
yeah, sure. Maybe I'll itemize the adopted plans and you
Right.
can decide if any of them tickle your fancy or, okay.
Dave, when you do that, were you also intending on using the language in the zoning code where it's applicable?
I parked that more in 18,
Community character?
yes,
Hmm.
but
Okay.
I was gonna go, my proposal is however one goes through the existing plans, those are the places where you can get some sense that the town has documented any particular community or neighborhood character that's worthy of protection or enhancement.
Okay.
But we need to do that.
Okay.
And that 18 to me is the core of your the zoning code question on that I pulled the essential 2 sentences out of that you're gonna have to make a decision on. It's not just about the DEC, is it gonna impact, inventory resource? You've also got in your town code, standards
14029.
14029 IB little 3. Power here, facility will be cited so as to be the least visibly intrusive and thereby have a minimal adverse visual effect on the environment and the nature and character of the community, existing vegetation, and on the residences in the area of the wireless telecommunication facility. According to your code, you're supposed to make a finding to that question.
In order to grant the permit.
What's again?
In order to grant the permit.
In order to grant the
Oh,
permit.
that's similar to a secret finding.
So if you remember last time, Matt Allen pointed it out, and Dave did also, his commentary on the visual was based upon the DEC rules. And he made the point, or Dave made the point, or they both did, that you still have the town code. And a couple of the residents also commented on that, so we need to deal with the town code as well.
Well, the one thing that I think about in terms of the town code, and that's what I was going on this, is that the code sets up a very interesting dichotomy. They have basically a height standard in the whole town, really. Or I guess depending on the vegetation, but roughly 95 feet, 90, depending on the trees. So that's pretty much black and white. But then right after it, they say, but the planning board can waive it. It's almost, so the question is, what does that mean in terms of what they want us to, what's their vision in terms of whether you want to call it community plans or community character? What do they mean by that? What are we supposed to do with that? On the one hand, you've got very hard, well, a number, the number is variable, but it's a number that we're supposed to apply. That's I would think Verizon would think that there's a fairly restrictive number. And then right after they said we can vary it. And the applicant, of course, is going to the ZBA as well for variance on it. So with all those moving pieces, how does the board approach that? That's one thing I was wondering what you're going to do with that.
Yes, I have a question, and I'm not sure which bucket it falls under, but it's, I think it came up with a member of the public once, which is what happens at the end of its useful life and whether it's dismantled and whether that might be part of an approval where it needs to be demolished at the end of its.
There's a piece of the code talks about that.
Oh, yeah.
I forget the term they use, but
There's a bond security requirement. There's a.
Yeah.
I'm winging it now.
Isn't
Would that be?
Isn't there a bond?
Performance security
Would
section.
that be written into the approval?
Well, that's what I thought, yeah.
You know, it might be redundant if it's in the code, but put it in there.
Yeah,
You have to notify the town if the use has been terminated.
And then within 180 days of,
yeah.
et cetera, structure shall be demolished in accordance
Right.
with. Blah, 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 blah.
It's also a
Future use. Yeah.
There's also a section of the code that requires evidence of annual maintenance of the tower. I think that's there's a big section on that,
Okay.
reports to the CEO, regularly, that it's being maintained, that it's been checked for structural integrity.
Yeah.
If it doesn't operate, in a continuous basis for more than 1 year, it's considered ceasing to operate. And then the code enforcement officer has authority to step in.
Okay, so that needs to be one of the decision reference to the code.
So then back to aesthetics with Hans, you'll help me with these 17 and 18. Anyone else want to be in on this?
I'll help with you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we got
I'll take a look at the draft.
okay. All right, so I'll work with Hans, Peter and Helena, and we'll come up with something that Dave will review.
Okay. So did we say we want to switch to Bill Agers and then come back to number 9?
I think we should finish this.
Okay, let's finish it. Aesthetic.
I think it goes back to the previous discussion, 17 and 18, with the visual. I found the DC policies, visual policy, as a good reference to think about what to think about. But it's not a policy, it's an internal document. It's kind of like a reference, barring everything else. I found the reading of the code, 14029, whatever it was you just quoted, to be in a way more specific. And that is something that we have to really consider. We have to really drill into that with all of these questions about how that is gonna
Code, but in light of also the number of comments that we've gotten about the sensitivity of some of the vantage points.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that code is gonna, it affects. In the DEC visual policy, it says that if you're on private property, that's not really a consideration for the impact of a tower. The code contradicts that and says that it is a consideration. And I think that's something that we have to pay close attention to.
I agree, and just to add on to what Pete's saying, in 140-29, the last sentence in here, the applicant shall demonstrate and provide in writing and or by drawing how it shall effectively screen from view the base station, tower base, and all related facilities and structures of the proposed wireless telecommunications facilities. It is on a county road. There's a lot of traffic. It's 50 feet off the road. That's a big impact. I mean, we've been looking at most of our comments have been looking at the impact of the tower from the ridge, from the scenic byway, but I don't think we've ever sat down and visualized or discussed what that impact is, passing by that every day.
I cannot agree with you more. And I say that because this is something I've been considering over the last couple of weeks. The effect from further away is difficult to assess because you're talking about an cumulative effect. Like when you think about driving down 209, you see it here and there. In a way that a photo doesn't capture that impact, right? I spend a lot of time up at Minnie and Mohonk every weekend. I'm up there, so I was particularly sensitive to that. However, for I think the general public, if you're thinking about the impact from the visitor center, I mean, it would depend on if you were wearing your glasses or not. It's a far away, but I don't want to discredit that sort of impact because that's still an impact, right? From very important vantage points. But when you are driving up Granite Road, and this is in these images.
Yes, it's.
I mean, that impact you cannot deny. It is massive. and important,
Yeah.
significant.
And that, I think, in agreement with Peter, DEC guidance is more for the parks and, will that tower, will people no longer come to the visitor center at Minnewaska because of that tower? That's kind of the basis for that DEC guidance. But our town code really spells it out, and we have yet to really, I think this is the first time we're discussing it.
I also,
Thank
I
you,
want to
Mr.
take it
Chair.
a little further and say, for some people, residents have talked about this, but they've talked about that land values, that's tricky to talk about because, there's always a buyer, or, sometimes there's a buyer that doesn't care or whatever, right? But I look upon it as an impact on the neighborhood, fabric of the neighborhood. And you kind of get that with Hudson Valley Resort, is whatever it's called at the moment. You've seen that over the decades, right? As it's gone downhill, it's had an impact on the neighborhood. And what I'm talking about is owners' lack of desire to put money into their properties, to keep their properties, or or landlords don't see the necessity to put money into properties because they do not have that value, right? So it's not about resale, it's about how that neighborhood is impacted by a singular thing. And I think there's danger here in that way, in that this singular thing has that impact. It's not, and I don't think it's enough to say, oh yeah, there's other stuff going on around there, right?
Right.
And that lessens it. Because it's still that impact. And we are, we're entertaining an applicant who says he's going to take away, demolish the hotel. So then be left with the tower. Anyway, this is something I've been thinking a lot about over the last week. It's a very significant impact visually, but I think it is a significant impact on that neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And something that would last a long period of time. And we need to regard that. And also then you get into views of the ridge from that closer public point of view, right? You're looking from there, it's in your view of the ridge. But that's my kind of summary on Sorry.
Oh, that was great.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something we really haven't talked about until tonight.
So what information, so we can talk about it now? Do you need more information about this? Do you need, so for example, like, there was some suggestion,
What about an alternative location deeper into the property, so you will not be impacted as you're driving on the county road?
there was that suggestion that has been come up in the past, and also I went back and reread the RF study by Doug Fishman, the first one that he did back in February. And he made the point that he evaluated the information provided at different heights. And at 120 feet, there were 4 specific locations that Verizon was dealing with. And 2 would be fine at almost any height down to 100. But all 4 would be fine at 120 feet. Anything below 120 would affect 2 of the major sites that they were looking at as servicing. One of them was the Ukrainian village, Kalata village. I don't remember. But anyway, so I mean, the combination of moving it deeper into the property, question mark, and lowering it, which would have a positive impact on the view from many places, many places defined in the DEC wouldn't have an impact on looking at it as you pass by on Granite Road. Moving it would, lowering it wouldn't. Lowering and moving would have impacts both ways. So I don't know if that's something we want more information on from the applicant, or more information on from Doug Fishman. But if you go back and read that, I think it was February 5th, somewhere in early February, he makes the point that 120 feet would do it.
When I do recall early on, and I'm not sure if it was with Mr. Olson or not, could have been with the Tectonic representatives. But one of my first comments was, why is it here on the road? You have this big 20-acre piece of property, and that was before we found out that there were wetlands. And I advocated for putting it in the back, and I remember getting a curt reply, well, the owner only wants it here. That was the reply. But now if we're going through all of this and we see that this project does not meet our code, that can help nudge the developer into looking at an alternative location on that property, providing it doesn't run afoul of any.
Yeah, I remember that code too. It was the first time we met.
Yeah.
Mickey and the other guy. The last conversation that the applicant had with the owner, that was still the answer. That's where they want it. They don't want it anyplace else. But in light of our code,
In light of a denial for, I mean,
denial versus the tower, yeah.
right.
Anybody else have a?
So I hear what you're saying, and we've heard presentations, but oftentimes with projects like this, you'll get site selection analysis where the applicant will talk about the various sites that they considered and why they were not appropriate for whatever reason. I don't feel like we've gotten that.
Oh, they did.
Explicitly.
For 2 properties.
There were, but something that I sent an email about this after our last meeting. Because a lot of this, many of the comments come down to tower height. Right, and so it would be really helpful, I think, to have an understanding of. I'm calling it a sensitivity analysis, but it's basically, they're saying that it needs to be 145. What I would like to understand and to have quantified for me, the difference in various tower heights versus coverage, population served, etc. I don't know what all the parameters would necessarily be, but to understand, because we're being asked to waive it, right? We're being asked to waive our zonings, the standard, and to grant a variance for a taller tower. I would like to understand the difference. What am I approving aside from, X feet of, but what is that giving us?
So if you did it at 145 and you serve 100 people and you did it at 120 and you serve 99 people, what's the
That would
difference?
be helpful.
We have that information though,
I don't-
don't we?
I can't,
I mean, not per, with
I don't
a
think we
number
have.
with per capita, but I believe it was through the amount of. It was on the maps, and then I think it was you also mentioned it was in Fishman's first report. I
Fishman
think.
mentioned that his analysis of Verizon's work, the original work that they did, would suggest to him that at 120, all 4 sites were serviced. Now, he didn't give numbers of people serviced.
Right.
He didn't give percentage of people. He simply said it would be sufficient
To achieve the coverage that.
to achieve the coverage
Has come
that
to us.
Verizon said that they needed. They did do a site selection. There's a section in one of the tomes that we have talking about site selection, but the whole business of what portion of the population would be served at 100, 120, 140, 145 would be valuable information. Your email I sent to the applicant.
It's the sensitivity of it, though. It's not, it's understanding and quantifying those differences. And I've seen the heat maps that
Yeah.
aren't especially useful, I don't think, because it's just colors. It doesn't, for me anyway, it doesn't really help me understand exactly what that delta is between X and Y options. So having a way of quantifying exactly what it is that we're
So the
approving.
forget about the colors, which you can't tell the nuances, the actual numbers of people,
I'll go
of
back and look
households.
again. I don't, this is something that's been kind of in the back of my mind, and I don't recall seeing something that answered my questions, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'll go, there's a lot in there and maybe I missed things.
I sent your questions off to the applicant and they're working on it.
Oh,
So
okay,
that would tell me that it's not there.
okay.
This actually speaks to something I've been thinking about, which is, we have had from the applicant an assessment of need. And that's been described to us or presented to us in heat maps and coverage.
Which are helpful.
Yeah, it's super helpful. But that's their representation of need. And then on the other hand, we get public comment, which is very much from, you know, people. We have a lot of people saying, well, we don't want, you know, we'll pick up our landline rather than do this. We don't want it, right? What we don't have is a groundswell of the population speaking to that need, right? So we have the technical side from an applicant, but we don't have a whole bunch of our community standing up and saying, oh, we need this. And that's what's missing from the community side. So there's a lot of discussion about, you know, the impact on the seemingly negative impact visually. We're not saying that, hey, we really need this. We did have that, I think that letter came in today, was that today that we saw that letter from speaking to services.
Emergency services, yeah.
Mr.
The
Bissinger.
deputy.
Yes.
Deputy director, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Ulster County.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's generalized, but you know, that's important to consider. But anyway, what I'm saying is that from our public hearings, we haven't had a whole lot of our community stand up and say, this is a need that we, you know, want.
So that's something I've reflected on,
Yeah.
and there's not specific to this area necessarily, but access to wireless communications is really important for people of lower economic brackets.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes they can't afford necessarily broadband, and education is online now. Students need to submit their papers and things like that online. And we haven't heard anybody in the public hearings. I would imagine that perhaps that's because they're far too busy to think about coming to a public hearing because they have bigger problems. And so they may self-select out of showing up at a public hearing. But some of my questions about site selection and population served help me think about the community and maybe people who aren't here and who might be served.
Yeah.
In thinking about this project.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. People who aren't here, maybe there's a good reason why they're not here. Ranging from, they don't have time to get out here.
Or
They got
public
bigger things to worry
transportation.
about.
I also think there's just a group of people who don't participate in the process so much.
I agree.
And I heard a lot of comments actually in support of the tower because they really need for the education, safety, and other points. But then these are not people who would show up here. So.
Anything else on aesthetics, which is the visual analysis?
There's a question of whether for your more, if I can call it the more neighborhood-based or localized assessment, you need some simulations.
And Matt Allen's, I talked to him today, he'd be willing to do simulations at different heights. If that's what you're referring to. He said it's. Given what he does, doing it at different heights and in different positions is quote unquote easy enough. If he had to replicate all of the pictures, whatever, 34 of them. And all the variations, different color poles, that kind of thing. That could be a lot of work. If we limit where we want that simulations to be viewed from, or, you know, instead of 34, it's 15 or whatever. It's relatively easy. So yeah, he's willing to do that.
Want to pick locations, how you want to do that?
Because we have to determine if the applicant is willing to move it at all, right? I mean, that's if they've resistant to it before.
Well,
if they say no.
So we'll find that out at the end of this meeting, because we're gonna have the applicant give us some feedback.
But I think having a simulation in lower heights is another point of information that we should have.
Dave, do you want to talk about, I think you're right. Well, which sites would you do, Dave?
Well, are we factoring in the different heights and possible location?
Yeah.
Change?
Yeah.
I'd do the apartment complex for sure, somewhere on Granite Road, because that's a public street.
It's a county road.
It's a county road. Yeah. I don't,
And it's the byway, it's the main road to the town of Rochester's offices, if you think about it, coming in off of
it does reference
4455.
residential property. I don't know how you pick those. A sampling, obvious places. I mean, I've been on Granite Road plenty of times, but I haven't wandered around the back there.
So he'd be limited to the ones that they have pictures from.
Right, but I'm trying to get to the town code piece of this.
Right.
Where you're expected to also be able to define if there's a visual impact on neighborhood properties in this case, Granite Road, which is, as Elena says, a county road. And whether there are alternatives that would affect that, either height or locationally. I think your baseline, I think Jennifer's point to the baseline, I think it's tree line plus 50 feet. That's what they get, right?
And
Without a waiver.
Right, and what was it for this project? It was well below the 135.
I don't know if we have anything that shows what it's gonna look like. That tree line plus 50 feet.
I don't know either. But
I
I
just don't know.
Right. I thought that was
Was that-
below what they were willing to do.
Well, but that's your baseline.
Mhm.
If you get no waiver, they can get that with site plan.
Tree line,
Tree line plus 50 feet.
that's 145.
No,
No,
tree
Tree
line
line's
is,
95
no,
plus
no,
50.
no, tree line's 45.
Sorry, you're right.
It's the average tree line of that neighborhood.
slow.
Right.
I don't, I think it got calculated early on, didn't
It
it?
was 45 plus 50,
The code is roughly 95 feet.
95 feet, yep.
And there's an your waiver can only go to 150. Is that the right number, as I
Yes.
recall?
Yeah.
That's your authority. So. Do you need some more simulations, to Jennifer's point about this need for the sensitivity analysis and then these locational, more localized impact issues? We're gonna ask, you wanna ask Matt Allen to do a little more?
So let's go back to the sensitivity first and get to Matt Allen. The applicant has the request to do the sensitivity analysis. And he indicated that it was gonna take some time, but they're working on it. On the thing with Matt Allen, he said he can do it for any of the pictures that he has, that he worked with to do his analysis, whatever number of pictures. If he's working with those, he can vary the heights, and he can also move them around the map. So if we wanted him to do all of them and not do it with remember the pictures were single array of material on the top. He did it with array of 4 antennae, 1 antenna, and then the other variation was a different color. It was steel and another one was something.
Okay.
If he only had to do it with one of the variations, namely a single monopole with 1 antenna array and one of the color poles, it'd be quite easy and quite quick.
I mean,
How
we
about,
could wait until we get the sensitivity analysis information and see what that shows us. And then we can decide if we want the visual to go along with it.
well, we could do that. It sounds like everybody is sort of in agreement that given the 10 criteria, it has to come lower and it has to be moved in some fashion to cut down on the visuals in the local areas. And then it probably has to be lowered as well, so. We get the sensitivity analysis. Does somebody want to work with Dave to come up with which pictures we want him to play with?
I'll do that.
Peter?
Yeah.
Peter, you and Alina and Dave want to work on that, because you worked on the original ones?
Sure.
What are we? Sorry, I was going back to my aesthetic resources.
When we originally came up with where we take the pictures from, you, Dave, and Peter worked on that. What
Yes.
we're asking is if you could work on just selecting of the ones that we came up with, 30 some odd, which ones do we want Matt Allen to redo at a lower height? And move the pole, move the tower. And redo the simulation.
So,
Can we get together to do that?
yeah. The, if potentially moving the tower, I'm just looking at parcel viewer. And there's kind of a panhandle that goes towards the apartment building. And there's a single family house in that panhandle. And I see the location where they would potentially have applied to put it. If they move it straight back, it approaches the border of the next property. Which is part of the Grand Hotel, Hudson Valley Resort. How close can it be to that? Dave, do you know that?
The setback?
Oh, a setback? I'd have to look.
I mean, there's a road that goes back there that is. Runs off that property, goes back to the water tower. That is the Granite property, so this was all part of that, was water supply that was part of that property.
Let's see, any proposed tower, setback from abutting parcels, road and street lines. By a minimum of a distance equal to 110% of the height proposed of the tower.
Okay, so there's not a lot of room to move that straight back, just as a point of information. So that's something that would have to be considered, and as I recall, the wetlands area is more to the would be to the west end of that property.
Yeah.
As you're looking at,
Yeah,
as you're turning towards Sichuan, the ridge, it's
Yeah.
to the right.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's a funny property to move it on, but
I'm not
it's not an ideal location.
It's not an ideal location.
Get back to that. I've heard that somewhere.
All right, what do we?
Anyway,
do?
so
Rick, do you want to speak to the Palisades Park Commission?
Say that, I can't hear you.
Palisades Park Commission situation? Or are we gonna leave that for now?
It's probably pretty important to talk about. Why don't you talk about it?
let's talk about.
All right, so I'll try to summarize them. So, as you know, we got we've been, board and staff have been interacting with Palisades Park Commission, which I'll reference more broadly. Palisades Park is a number of things, including Interstate Park Agency. It's also the regional office of New York State Parks. They're the bosses of Minnewaska State Park and Preserve. We've had staff interaction with staff locally as well as at the PIPC office at Bear Mountain. And you received a memo from the executive director, Laird, stating that there will be an impact. Rick and I have learned that was based on a series of photographs taken on the first failed balloon test
On
day.
April 4th, first balloon test that was
and
canceled.
we have the photos. To the best of our knowledge, Peter, we didn't have the photos before this, correct?
I think it's the first time I saw that one, that email.
That Laird referred to,
Yeah.
so now have the photos, we have none of the metadata. There's been some speculation about the circumstances under which these photos were taken, but until we get the metadata. I'm not the expert, I'll defer to Peter here. Someone like Peter, someone like Matt Allen can't do much with these photos. Alina and I were out there then. I don't know, Rick, were you out there then?
No, I
That
wasn't. Yeah.
first failed day?
First day.
This is when the balloon got loose. So we don't even know if time-wise, till we get the data on when the picture was taken, where the balloon was. It may
don't
have
have
been
a height.
loose at that point.
Peter and I looked at the pictures preliminarily. He's the expert, but I think you suggested that they looked like they were taken with a telephoto lens.
Yeah, it looked like there are two images that were, and it goes to that point that we've talked about before is. Can you see, what is the standard with which this should be referenced, 50mm lens, so on and so forth. But then there's also the factor of if you can see it, you can see it. And that's something that needs to be considered in a way. And so just looking at the pictures without the metadata, it looked like there was a wide picture that you could just make out something there, and then there's what looked like a cropped or a telephoto image of the same picture that it looked a lot more apparent in that. So, but again, without the metadata, we don't know.
So Matt Shook, the chief of staff at Palisades Park, whose boss is Laird, is trying to reconcile all this among staff to see. We're still waiting to see if we
Still
get
waiting to get some-
metadata, and where they'll be with the conclusionary statement that Laird did in his memo from April. It was quite a while ago.
April 29th.
From April, that there will be an impact. Based on these photographs he was shown, that were taken by his staff. So stay tuned, I guess, is the.
So he didn't take the photos, it's by his staff, and then he reviewed the photos.
Correct.
Yeah, in short, he didn't take the photos, he depended on his staff. We never got the photos, I don't have them, Dave doesn't have them, Peter doesn't have them. So when we found them, because Shook sent them to me, and I said, where'd these come from? We don't have them. And it's, oops. And then when we looked at them, unless you can send me the metadata, what's the sum and substance of the letter from Joshua Laird that says it's significant? If you can't give me the metadata, in fact, one of the balloons looks like it's floating away. But we can't tell the height. So
It's a big unknown.
This was.
All right, so we get the metadata.
This was Thursday or Friday, and Shook owes me a letter.
Okay.
As to what's what.
But as has been previously noted, such a commentary from the executive director of Palisades Park Commission is important.
Yeah.
You need to consider.
Yeah.
Are there any other little gems like that?
That's a good one, then.
You can talk about probate court, but you don't want to be the.
Talk about what?
What?
My
my other work today.
Oh. I heard court. Did you?
I had probate.
Oh, okay. All right, anything else on visuals? Anybody wants to say? Okay. So I think it's a wrap. Dave, you and I need to work on what we, and Stacy with the minutes, what we just decided we were gonna do with all this stuff. And Scott, have you got any input on what that you want to tell us tonight on what you heard tonight, or do you want to put together an email to me the next day or two, a letter to me the next day or two?
Well, first, my apologies for interrupting. I thought it was gonna be helpful for Dave Gordon. Just wanted to let you know, I will, although I said I wasn't gonna respond, and something came up again tonight, and Mr. Friedman kind of reiterated what Bob Berg keeps saying. I've only found one case that deals with this. I spent like an hour today and found 6 or 7 cases that completely contradict him, so I want to give you those cases. And 5 of the cases that he cites, 2 of them support our position, so I'll just explain why that's the case. But I agree with your assessment that, it's on that specific RF issue. Well, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth. I certainly disagree with Bob.
Okay,
I think
so we'll
he's
look
really
forward,
over the top with his
we look
analysis.
forward to getting your letter.
Yeah, so we are.
Berg
working-
has you beat,
What?
Berg has you beat 12 letters to 3.
That's his MO, he wants it, and then I've seen
No,
it
no, no,
before.
don't go there.
Seen it before.
That's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, let's look at,
Go ahead.
I am looking at some other issues, property analysis. Peter, to your point last meeting, you asked, what more local stuff? I spoke to our appraiser. In fact, he just sent me finally a letter for the quote. But he said that in the expedited review that he sent, I don't know what it was, over the summer maybe, he did list a bunch of communities, and he said, I went through those, and I think 2 or 3 of them are very specific to Rochester. If he's gonna at least follow up and write a letter to that effect, whether that addresses it or not, we'll see. I don't know, I haven't seen anything, so. We're also dealing in the sensitivity analysis. We kind of started that, but I will admit, I didn't know really what it fully meant. I heard some stuff here where I've had our people do is put together view shed maps for the other towers that exist, because my again, I may have misunderstood. But we're gonna show you the view shed from those other towers compared to our tower. I've seen drafts and they seem very similar.
Scott, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
In terms of the sensitivity analysis, I think what Jen was talking, what I heard, and I'm not sure if you meant it, was really numbers of people served at different heights. Whereas I think what Scott's referring to is when they look at this, they've showed sort of geographic coverage,
Right.
perhaps at different heights. So I
Right.
want to make sure you two are not talking past.
No, and hearing that, I think I understand better. We can certainly try to provide that information, but from the FCC license standpoint, it's not relevant because we are licensed to provide not people. Really more coverage areas. And
Then quantify it that way.
well,
So
I see what you do, yeah.
my question is not about the list of areas of impact. My question is more fundamental to understanding the difference between various.
Comparative.
Yeah, it's like comparing.
Comparing
Various
the
cell
heights.
tower heights versus what I used the word population, you're telling me it's land coverage. It's almost like, but it's to understand for us, to your point, if you're asking for a 145-foot tower and it gives you X coverage. And if you go to 100, it only decreases by 10%, or maybe that area decreases by 90%. I don't know, but it'd be helpful to quantify that. What I've seen is the maps.
Right.
I don't know if I've seen it quantified. So anything you can give us that can help us, I'm not an expert on.
Yeah,
cellular
I think a
service.
few of us, Scott, went back to Jen's point, went back and looked at the original RF study. And it was pretty clear that our guy said there wasn't much difference, almost quote unquote, between 120 and 140, the numbers he used. That being the case, and then Jen, well, what about the actual number of people served? Was he looking, was the RF guy looking at people served? Was he looking at frequency strength? What was he looking at in order to come up with that statement? That 120 didn't really make a difference.
Frequencies, because that comes down to frequency signal strength, because that dictates more or less what the coverage will be over a geographic area.
So can you correlate that to numbers of people? You should be able to, because if the signal strength is the same at 120 as it is at 140, then whatever number of people you have in that area, you would be able to deal with the same number of people. You could state that emphatically. If the frequency is the same, then the number of people that you could service is exactly the same.
Yeah, I'll see what we can.
I'll leave it
I'll see
to,
what we can do.
I would also add that you can also include information, because there's existing coverage. You can also include the sensitivity analysis of how the existing coverage changes.
The existing coverage doesn't change at all.
But
Based on-
it's my understanding, if I understood correctly, that in addition to, the whole point of this was to boost the signals for the existing area, because, so it's quantifying all of that.
No, it's kind of, but no. The area that we're proposing the tower in just is degrading the signal from the others. So this, by putting a new server in this area, basically now the people in this area will be using that tower, that server, that signal. And the other tower for constant accord will be used, those signals are gonna actually shrink, well, they'll shrink a little bit in a sense, because they won't be stretched by the users here or in our location trying to use it, if that makes sense, but I can. But
Quantify that.
it's,
So we
well,
can
I'll
understand.
do what we can do. But I wanna say one thing is, and I would think that in an area like this where there's a lot of hiking. And I say this all the time, people wanna say, well, you gotta serve all these people. As a hiker, hunter, you want cells, even if you save one life. That someone gets stuck on a mountain and, if we lower the height and now you don't have service, and that's a problem, but the point is. I hear what you're saying to quantify, but we're really more about, even for recreational areas, hiking trails, that sort of stuff.
So I'm fairly certain that Verizon isn't proposing this tower out of the goodness of their heart for hunters in the area. I'm certain that there's some kind of way that we can be provided with information that helps us understand
We'll try our best, but actually we do want to make sure that every all recreations are covered. To say otherwise, I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Okay, that's your opinion.
It's my client's opinion, they told
And,
me.
you know, we'll go from there. I mean, we can have all sorts of, there's some hikers here and I presume some hunters and last thing I want is a cell phone. And even if I'm in trouble, I have a satellite beacon that is effective just about all over the globe. So I carry that if I'm in trouble. Not everybody does, but
Right.
I don't want a cell phone. But
That's your opinion.
that's my opinion. So I think it'd be very valuable without,
To go off when the big buck is.
to get that information.
Yeah, I'll find out what the RF folks can do in terms of quantifying. The question is now, your consultant confirms that going below whatever it was, 120, 125, is not really viable. So I'm assuming we just want to show you 120 or whatever that number was, the lower one and the proposed.
It was 120.
Okay.
At 100, he stated that significant
Slight loss
increase.
of three.
Have you got it right there, Lena?
I'm just looking at some notes I have here.
Okay, 120 was sufficient. And in fact, almost the same as 140. And 100 was significant decrease in the viability.
Except that you may lose the co-location, like that's what he said. You go lower.
He may have said that.
And that's-
I don't remember.
Quite frankly, neither here or there, nor there for us, doesn't matter to us, but it may mean. If we went to 120. You may need another tower, but that's down the
Okay.
road.
So any other comments on what you heard tonight?
Or
Or you want to wait till you go back and,
14 pages of notes.
okay,
So
so we look forward
we could
to,
also look forward to you summarizing if you want to summarize if you have anything in particular, because I may have missed something.
okay. So Dave, I and Stacy will work on
Scott, I'm
some.
gonna wait till I hear from you before I do my.
Yeah, I just didn't want you to do it and then be like, he submitted it. I just wanted to give you the heads up. Sorry if that was an inconvenience.
No, I'll wait till I see you.
It'll be before the end of the week then.
Okay,
Pretty sure I can get.
Okay. so I think, Scott, thank you. I think we're done.
Thank you.
Tonight.
Thank you, Scott.
We're gonna take a break.
Yep.
And then, Bill, you get yourself set up. We got, you get yourself set up, wake up.
Good morning.
You're next, you have 2 projects on the agenda, right?
Yes.
I don't know what's coming. You know. You know, give me that bourbon.
Very intense.
Well,
that's.
You would say, you know, I still say picture, but he studies the game analyses, he simulations.
Running with a phone.
I have this satellite, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, now your phone. Your phone processes, do you want to use the?
Well, that's how I got rid of a satellite, you're supposed to move $150 a year, that's what it is. The phone, you know, allows me to go, yeah, for the button and say, oh. I'm being mauled by a bear.
Yeah, yeah. Come watch.
Come watch.
I see a lot of shit. But that's okay. There are times when it doesn't have to hurt. And so when I do it, I don't know how to signal. No, that's. I sort of tried to say, not now, I was like.
Old man.
I guess, well, I didn't get insulted, the old person, and then we run into, that's pretty strong. How do we go with something like that?
Okay, well, thank you for keeping that out of here.
I don't want you getting too close up to the two, without evidence support.
So, right, you know, one of the things.
It sounds like you're making a good.
Yes, you're right. I'll do this live.
Right. This case, when we got these two stairs staring right at you, that's what I don't want.
Okay. We need to talk at some point about. All we talk about going to a policy.
Right.
All this additional information and we were wanting.
I can, there's some moving pieces there, but the bottom line is, we're on firm ground, as long as the applicant was supplied, we're on firm ground. In this case, getting another consultant, who do the applicant, will pay for it in escrow, that's. But I think at this point.
But what are we need another consultant for?
There's a gas.
Look, to do what? No, I don't know.
Well, you're the plan, the whole plan, the whole migratory.
Okay,
Migratory birds already good.
That's what I'm saying.
Based upon.
Plants.
Oh, wait, also.
You know, this whole order of things.
Thought I had to race down, I had a Marbletown meeting.
Well, what do you-
I'm like, oh, you're waiting.
Let's stop agreeing with your gut. Assuming you will hear, what do you wanna do? You wanna get a straight person, state bullshit. You've got to.
Okay.
Well, is it good, will it, in your mind, in the RF, as a legal advisor, do you think the RF for plants and animals can be a settled matter or not?
Well, let's forget about that.
Well, okay.
The answer is, but I talked what I think, this is what I gotta look at.
Right.
What I'm thinking now is, basic structural law is that you can't do all the plan. But. We felt really strong with it, and it was really good evidence.
Right.
This was really good evidence that people who get pride, one day today, finally, that's what we're doing.
Sure.
I would tell them.
I told him he was pretty strong.
The black
I said,
person-
"Here," I said, "I'm trying to keep you out of."
If I was the judge, I could.
Yeah.
30%, but go ahead and put your budget on track.
And so who would you go get? If you pause second, what do you get? Well, that was his question.
No, it was, no, it wasn't, it was hiring somebody, so.
Don't forget we're.
We got a letter today, from a certified watermark barrel, right?
Well, we inventory who's out there. And
We got a letter from a certified watermark barrel.
right, and then we've also earlier went looking for who we could get, right?
Fine, what would we
There aren't many.
take just, if nothing else, take that letter.
Yes.
References, he's got references.
Oh, he's like, I Googled it, it's a serious play.
It's a serious play, I go. So that's why I don't want to talk. I want to take that letter and give it to somebody who letters after. I don't care what you get. I don't care if certified well values, I don't care. That's what it is. You know, somebody who can say township. The problem is.
Bruce won't do it, he's narrowed his. That's right.
Find about. So, no one said.
Okay, let's get going. We have an opportunity to get out of here.
It's not blowing.
Dave, we okay? Dave Robbins, we okay?
Yes, oh, yeah, of course.
They discovered.
Did you ask him about Pinkhurst?
From Pinkerus, Thomas Pinkerus?
Yeah.
You did? Yeah. Okay, so you.
I think he restriped.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he restriped the parking lot.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Because there's an ADA space now, right?
Those doors on.
Yeah, he knows somebody in that business.
Okay. And there's signage too, I drove by and the sign needs to be updated, so that too. But I'm hoping it's true.
When I drove by, it looked like he restriped his parking lot.
Oh, did he? I haven't been by
Yeah.
it. That's-
Yeah, he did restripe
I haven't seen it. Did he?
Oh, great. Now I gotta go check that because we already went, we backed up way back there.
I think it was corner of my eye stuff. It looked like there was an ADA space.
It was, and last I saw it was resealed.
I was gonna say, I saw they sealed it.
He also sealed on it.
Yeah.
He's getting ready.
Next thing you know, he'll have the orthodontist in there. Okay, Bill, let's start with
Appointment for.
Rawa. All right, everybody, we're doing Rawa, which was the first map on your file.
Alice Amy? Alice Rose?
Brower,
Petrocelli.
Petrocelli and Broadleaf Farm LLC.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bill Fire, fire away.
Okay, so this is what looks very complicated, but is actually lot line revision or lot line improvement. Between two property owners, this is kind of at the corner of Queens Highway and Sundale Road. So one property owner, Grauer, owns two separate properties. One is fronting on Queens Highway, the other one has access off Sundale Road. And wrapping around behind his two properties is land owned by Broadleaf Farm LLC. And so they are planning on conveying some of the land from Broadleaf to Grauer. We'll start out there on Queens Highway, where Grauer's house and barn is. And that's says revised area 3.6 acres. There's a little triangular piece there on Queens Highway that Broadleaf Farm does not really have any use for. That's their road frontage, but they really only need the road frontage. And there's a little piece of land in there that's kind of no use to them. So they're going to convey that to Grauer. And that's, you see a yellow line there, it says proposed lot line. That's the new line there. And the other thing is kind of heading southwesterly from.
I don't see a yellow line.
I don't see any yellow.
You don't have yellow on your
Yellow.
maps? No, you have old maps?
No, these are.
Well, there's some reddish stuff, but
Oh.
They're
Did I send
brown.
you?
Are you?
I did.
It's in Munich
I did
Lab, if you
send
wanna
you
get
the,
there.
Yellow.
It sort of shows up.
No,
Maybe it's just not showing up, Bill.
It's the revised map.
no, we revised
called
it after our
Grauer
meeting
sketch
with you, and you said you
revised.
wanted colored lines there.
Yeah, I did, but
Okay.
keep, but keep going.
I see if I got a highlighter from around market for you.
Should be the first file.
So anyway, there's a little triangle there to be conveyed. Then right behind that 3.6
One right
acre
on top.
parcel, there is a 30-foot strip. Which historical kind of thing they laid out at one time. I think they're gonna use that driveway to access lands of Beno or Beno back there. So he's got this little strip of land there. And then beyond that, they're planning on conveying a section of land to Grauer also. Just got a little field in there. Wrap it around the corner behind Beno's piece, and they're going to convey a 50-foot strip runs across the back of Grauer's other parcel, revised area 8.1 acres, 50-foot strip, so he can get foot pedestrian access down to the Rochester Creek, also known as the Medicahot Hill.
Is everybody with them?
I think so.
We'll be leaving Broadleaf Farm with about 60 acres. And the revised acreage is as shown on the Grauer's two pieces.
So Beno is still in between Grauer's properties.
Yep,
Beno, his back property is accessed through this 30-foot right of way from Sundale, correct?
yes, even though he has. Currently, his property, he owns that other parcel out on Sundale Road, so. He doesn't need to use that 30 feet, and I don't think he uses it, he actually goes directly between them, but
So who owns the 30 feet? Is that Beno?
no, that's Grauer's ownership. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you know, it has a right of way, but it is owned by Grauer. Yeah.
Okay. So Grauer is now gonna have not only a 30-foot little strip that he has right now, he's gonna have this other strip that goes all the way down to the Rochester Creek.
Right.
That's being conveyed to him by Broadleaf Farms.
Right, and one other thing that we didn't get on here is that they plan to grant Grauer a right of way over the existing driveway, the Broadleaf Farms driveway, to go from his house lot to this little piece on the other side of the 30-foot strip there.
I lost you with that one.
Say that again? Yeah.
So you come in from Queens Highway,
Yeah,
Broadleaf Farm has a driveway coming in there, it's labeled driveway.
yeah.
Is down to their lands. And they're going to grant Grauer an easement over that to get around the end of Bino's 30-foot strip in there to get into the 3.9 acres portion that they're conveying to them.
Okay, I got you.
So is that this strip that's between Brower that comes up, Beno,
Yeah.
towards Queens Highway?
Mhm.
That's not a right of way, right? Is it?
No.
Okay.
That was something that was done probably in the late 60s, I think. Not sure what they had in mind back then, but now there's got this little thing there and as well, it'd be really great if he could get, to convey him that 30-foot strip and apparently that's not in the cards right now. That would really clean things up very nicely.
Yeah.
So the strip between Bino's property and that driveway on Broadleaf's property that comes off of Queens Highway, that's also owned by Bino.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. So why does he need an easement? You said something about the easement is for Grauer.
Yes, this would be an easement for Grauer to use the driveway over Broadleaf Farms here. To just make it go around the end of this little impinging piece there to get to this.
So you need to add that to the map.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, contours and.
Okay. Anything else you want? So this is a type 2. We need another map, Bill, showing that extra easement.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know why the yellow didn't come through on these, to be honest with you. So what we're gonna do is we'll get rid of all the old maps and just give us a new map with the easement on it.
Does the final map need contours? Does the final map need contours?
I'm sorry. Does
Does the
final map?
final map require contours?
No. No, what point?
Okay, just checking.
No.
There's reference to, there were previous lot line improvements in 2017 and 2018, and one of them was approved by the planning board but not filed as a reference. Does that matter to us? I don't know how it impacts this. There was two previous lot line improvements, so reference.
Yeah, I did kind of remember, they couldn't find the old maps.
Right.
And they suspected they were just never filed. Are you aware of that, Bill?
When that was?
So thanks for mentioning that, Peter.
2017, 2018.
The Courtney mentioned that there were two previous lot lines done. But they apparently were never filed because we have nothing on file and the county has nothing on file. That was the other piece of it. They called the county, they have nothing on file.
Okay, yeah, I'm aware of one of them, and it was done in 2018. And I know that was filed, but I don't know anything about the other one.
Well, so the one in 2018. Do we need to have that, or is that already? Is that affected by what you're doing here? Are you abrogating the 2018 lot line change?
Yeah. Yeah, that had to do with between Oak Queens and the parcel that is to the southwest there now, Andrew Faltus.
Yeah.
About 6.210. That was a lot line change between that property and the Oak Queens parcel. To clear things up with this driveway coming in.
Which was now Broadleaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Oh, yeah, Oak Queens, wrong, yeah.
All right, so,
Oak, yeah, sorry.
all right, so we don't need that one.
If there was anything else, I'm not aware of any others, lot line adjustment that was done that was not filed. If it was not filed, then it's null and void anyway,
It doesn't exist.
yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, if the 18 one wasn't filed, that doesn't exist either.
Oh, it was,
You have it?
yeah,
Can you get us a copy of
oh,
it?
sure.
Okay.
Check and see you,
So Bill, can you clear this up first? You know, between now and the next meeting? We don't have a decision for tonight, obviously.
yeah,
Dave, let's prepare one for the 10th. But could you get us, look for the 2017 LLI? And 2018 one you have there.
I will see if anybody, I don't know what it was between, do you have any files on it or anything?
I just saw reference to it in the Muni collab.
There's something in Munich Lab about the I don't know even know who to talk to, because I don't know
Yeah,
who the property owners that were involved.
let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
So Bill, clear up the one for 2018 and let's just determine. It sounds like it went into effect. Your map seems to show the effects of that 2018 change.
Oh, yeah.
It just was never filed.
Oh, no. What are we talking about now? The 2018 one?
2018 was never filed at the county.
Yes, it is.
You
That's
have
good.
it there, a filed copy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
File map number 18288.
Okay,
So I
so
don't, so if there was another one that you said something about that was not filed, I'm not aware of that.
all right,
Okay, I'll look back and I'll find where I
Yeah.
saw that, because I made a note of it.
Okay.
all right.
I have a question.
So Bill, go ahead.
One question. Are you cutting a driveway to the Rochester Creek, or did you say a
No.
footpath?
Totally just a footpath.
All right, so
The terrain wouldn't allow it.
Well, I'm looking at the terrain right
Yeah.
now, that's why I was questioning.
what wouldn't allow it? Sorry.
The terrain would not allow a driveway down to the creek.
And that would require.
Yeah.
State permits.
Okay, I found it in the CEO determination. It says one of the bullets in there is 75.110 was part of a previous lot line improvement in 2017. The approved map is attached for review or search was conducted for the planning board decision, however, it could not be located. Next bullet point, same property 75.110 was also part of another lot line improvement in 2018. It appears to have an approved PV decision, but there is no record of the final map being submitted to Ulster County. Is that the map that you have, the 2018?
Yeah.
It's dated 2018.
Okay.
It's the same action.
Okay, so it's just, yeah, so mistake, I guess, on the CEO's office.
So if you can make a copy of that just for their records.
Sure.
And 2017, we don't have anything else other than.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bill, let's get a copy of that. Anybody else? Peter?
No.
Okay. So we'll have a decision for you next,
Okay.
next month, Bill. November 2.
Yeah, I'll get you revised. This is just a sketch plan anyway, so we'll be finding out this and that and.
No, I did have one other very minor thing, which is when looking at the deeds that were uploaded. Every other page was upside down, which made it kind of like.
That's. Well, like.
That was the one I was holding my computer
Yeah,
upside down, and then it would keep flipping around.
Okay.
Slows down the process.
Download it, save it, and rotate the view, it's the only way.
Yeah.
I should have called you,
But
Maureen.
I
It's the
presume
only way
that's
I
how it
figured it
came
out.
from the clerk's office. I remember
Whoever
Ed
put-
saying that, I was looking at it and saying, what happened here?
Whoever put it into Unicolab, put it in upside down.
No, whoever scanned it at the clerk's office,
Oh.
and all that down.
All right, anybody else on this one?
We need to escrow rate for this or do
Yes,
Good question.
yes. We need $100, Bill, to cover, in fact, make it 150. Thank you. Can I have a motion to collect 150?
I'll make.
I see.
Dave Roberts, on seconds it. That's to cover the decision.
All in favor?
I.
Rick was thinking.
What's that? Aye.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
One.
It's only
side.
9:30, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Okay,
you have to go to these to remember.
No, we don't.
do we have, any escrow on the previous one, previous LOI? No. That's no, what's the previous LOI?
Post.
Post.
They were new. I don't know if we needed anything.
Yeah, we need to send him a note that we need, escrow from him. 150.
Okay.
That's to cover the decision.
Do you wanna do the motion for that? And I'll just.
Yeah,
put it in the minute.
can I have a motion for the previous one post? To get escrow for him, we'll notify him, so I have a motion to collect $150 from post for the LLI.
I'll make a motion to get him.
Jennifer?
I second it.
Alina, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Bill, Alex and Amy, Lewis. You have a map for that one too.
Second with that.
So Bill, you want to give us a,
Who did the motion?
The last motion was to.
Who seconded the last motion?
Helena?
I did.
Okay.
So Bill, this was originally 3 lots, right?
Yeah, the original application for this is on, that's on Lower Whitfield Road. And this is, this little bit of 9 acres. See. You know, right here, AR3, minimum lot size to so originally they proposed 3 lots. And, after looking at some of the constraints on the property and having a little chat. With, Rick and Peter there, we decided like, maybe 2 lots would work out better, so we've come back with a revised plan with this, with 2 lots. A good portion of the land across the road frontage, like pretty much all of it, except for the driveway, is federal wetland. So we're proposing to have a shared driveway and right of way over the existing driveway as far as it goes, and then a little extension of new driveway to the property line with a right of way over lot 1 to lot 2. So that we don't have to try and have a crossing over the wetlands over the one set. So they both have road frontage, but they would be using a shared driveway for access to the portion of it. The lot 1 has an existing house and some other features on this. The overall property was, there was a lot line adjustment. Was that done? That was before this board. In 23, so 2 years ago, anybody who was here 2 years ago, we did a lot line adjustment. It's a little portion, you see a little bump out on the left side or the westerly side of lot 1. That was discovered to be lands that they were occupying the neighbor's property. They came to an agreement to acquire that little piece in there. So that was a lot line adjustment that you saw before on that property. That was filed and everything. So,
Yeah, that one we have it, it's in the muni.
Okay.
I think it was loaded up in the,
Yep.
in the file. Dave, you did an original write-up on this, but that was when it was 3 lots, right?
Yeah. I think your only issue is what do you want to do with a wetland buffer?
That was my question.
So
It's not on here. Oh, is that?
the proposed
oh.
driveway comes off of the existing driveway. And it's hard to see, but the buffer is the little red line. The red dashed line that kind of waves across lot 2, then into lot 1. Goes through the abandoned foundation. And then buffer zone line goes right through the house that's there already. And then goes across to the swing set, and then it keeps traveling across. So
Oh,
they
So
propose,
The
they're-
code says. I'm gonna,
I have a question.
minimum of. There's a wetland stream buffer requirement with a minimum of 100 feet in depth from high water mark of the stream. Doesn't elaborate on the wetland, but. And include a plat notation indicating such. No principal structure shall be located in such setback. The planning board shall, however, be authorized to modify this requirement. Or necessary, or to accommodate reasonable use of properties. Providing mitigation measures. Such as deed covenants limiting clearing shall be employed.
so the house on lot 1 is already there, even though the buffer zone goes right through the house.
And to be clear, the proposed driveway is going through the wetland buffer.
Yes,
You know, with the new wetland laws, we may want to have him. It's an identified federal wetland, unlike some of the other wetlands we've been looking at. I don't know if we have an EAF, I have not had a chance to get into it. But we may want to take a look at, a little closer look at that.
What's,
Yeah.
what do you think the area is, Bill, of the driveway? If you go, it's less than an acre?
Oh,
I'm talking about the new DEC wetland.
Oh, DEC wet.
Yeah, not because the whole federal, if this was already identified as a federal wetland, DEC may be taking jurisdiction over that.
we got
I don't know.
no jurisdiction on DEC.
Okay, don't know, I have not seen the file.
Bill, we don't have that, do we?
I don't know, if you don't, I'll certainly load it up for you.
I don't remember seeing it.
I don't remember seeing it. no.
Alright.
Can you load that up?
Yep.
Because like state wetlands, you're not allowed, you need a permit to go into the adjacent area or buffer area, so that's a red, for me, that's a red flag.
So does a letter of no jurisdiction, is that what you said that you have?
Yes, from DEC, it says they don't, what do they say? Meaning there are no DEC regulated wetlands or adjacent areas, so it's no DEC regulated wetlands or adjacent areas identified on this parcel.
And what was the date of that letter?
This was, April 8th, 2025.
So it was after the new,
It was after the new laws.
Okay, so the 100-foot wetland, the delineation for the wetland border was not DEC, but it's federal wetlands, right?
As a
If
town.
your code says basically if any agency calls it a wetland, it's a wetland.
and they have to have a 100-foot buffer.
So but the border itself was set previously by federal database.
You took it off the parcel viewer or what you?
Oh, that identified it as wetland there?
Yeah.
And the line itself, we had that delineated.
Oh, yeah, delineated, so that's,
Okay,
so you gotta put 100 feet from that, which you can vary.
right.
For reasonable use of the problem.
But isn't putting a driveway through that offset from the border to the buffers that?
Well,
So putting,
read
well,
this
there's
section of the
existing driveway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then there's the new driveway.
no, that's the new one is what I'm concerned
Oh,
with, yeah.
So our
To understand.
code says that you can't put a paved driveway through a buffer zone.
No paved,
No
no
paved,
paved area,
no paved area,
no principal structure.
both, no principal structure, no paved area. So we had this with one of the other projects, Dignified, I think it
Yeah.
was. And we went back and forth, well, you were there with us, went back and forth as to, well. This is not gonna be paved, it's gonna be gravel, should it be considered paved because some gravel driveways are just like a paved driveway, so that's the question on the table, do we? Want to consider this to be a paved driveway for purposes of code, which prohibits any paved area going through the buffer zone? Or do we want to let it go because they've agreed to put it as a gravel driveway?
Well, there's nothing to preclude somebody from 10 years down the road putting a paved driveway.
Unless-
Paving,
Unless you put it in the deed or in the approvals.
Right.
There's
but
gotta be
it's
some way you can put that.
But down the road, 15 years, if there's another owner,
Right.
they could just say, hey, I want to put a paved driveway in.
Well, it could be put in the deed and the decision and also on the map.
Yeah.
Or if we want to say, no, you can't do it because our interpretation of paved driveway or paved area is a hard packed gravel driveway as well.
If that's what they meant, they would have said no driveway. Why did it
Sorry?
say- It says paved. If it was no driveway at all, gravel, dirt, anything, then it would have said it in the code. And I think a paved is pretty well considered, it's asphalt or concrete.
I would like to understand because there's an existing driveway there that's been there.
Yeah.
It would be helpful for me to understand the area that would be new driveway in the buffer area. So like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about 0.02 of an acre? Are we talking about, I don't really know how much we're talking about. So that would be helpful information to know, like, what is this? Because it's a permanent disturbance in the buffer area.
Yeah.
It's important to know for like environmental, whatever. So that would be helpful, I think. And then we can consider from there.
So Bill, we're gonna need you to do the calculation for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Just in the buffer area.
Red dot dash line. This is existing. And then this is the lines. Yeah. So the red dash line is the existing gravel driveway.
Yes.
And then the black dash line is the.
Oh, and the buffer zone either goes up to.
Right up there.
The driveway is
Hard to see.
about 120 feet of the wetland buffer.
Yeah.
125 feet by 60
Because
feet.
it's not coming in perpendicular to, it goes around the wetland buffer, the border. So it's the piece of the driveway is greater than 100 feet. That's in the buffer. That's all.
And do we know what the driveway is? We're assuming 16 feet. Do we know? Do we know?
16 feet
Yeah.
is what's required by code. So 16 times 125, give or take. Comes out to about close to 1,800 square feet. How many acres is that? I don't know.
So,
I'm not that quick, but
so
25th.
25th of an acre,
25th of an acre, okay.
I winged it.
So do we want more information from the applicant on this, or do we wanna?
By the way, paved is undefined in your code.
Wish we had used impervious.
That's a good one.
To make a note of that in your.
This is the second project we've gone through this thing with driveway not being defined and.
Yeah.
It yam what it yam.
Goes on your list.
So it doesn't seem like at this hour of the night, the board wants to make a decision to say that this kind of sort of looks okay. Dave, do you wanna, we did one write-up on this already. Do you want to do a quick write-up for the next meeting?
Sure, but it's only this issue, right?
It looks that way, yeah.
Where do you want to go for next meeting?
Well, we either get
You gotta
a,
have a hearing, right?
we haven't set a hearing or anything yet at this point. Do we want to,
You want to do that?
you want to do a public hearing? Well, we have to do a couple. If we're gonna do a public hearing, we need to declare that, we should declare it tonight. We also have to decide whether this is unlisted, which I think it is.
Sure.
So we can do that as well. Why don't we start with that? Motion to declare this unlisted, uncoordinated? Hans makes the motion.
Hold on, would it be uncoordinated? Because there is. Would we want to do it uncoordinated because of the wetland issue? I know he has the letter, but,
Who would we coordinate it with if they have a letter of non-involvement?
well, it's just a matter of sending a letter. You're not, right? Isn't a coordinated review, it just means you copy people on the letter. It doesn't mean you're actually necessarily doing anything, but.
You have to give them how many days to respond?
30, but the point is, I mean, that's one way to look at it procedurally, but really the people you send the letters to are supposed to be involved agencies. Involved agencies or agencies that have approval authority of one form or another, so. Questions, I mean, I don't know, I don't know the details, but if DEC has approval authority, then we ought to coordinate by sending them a full coordination letter. If not, then you can send them a letter, but it's really an coordinating. It's really, not it's really.
That's fine.
We're just dealing agencies.
That's fine with me then.
So Jen, you do the second,
I'll do a second.
Hans? I did the first, Jennifer did the second, all in favor of typing this as unlisted, uncoordinated?
Bye.
Aye. So 6-0-1.
Oh, so. I have a question. This is in an agricultural area. Do they, because there's farms right down the road, do they have to put down the ag lands here? As
Dave?
we've done on other subdivisions. Remember the subdivision right off of Clove Valley Extension?
Does
We
this have
had
any,
them
does
change the location of the house.
this have any prime soils?
Yeah, I'm trying to refresh my memory now.
Because to the.
Yes, it does.
It should, my
Yeah,
friend has a
more-
farm right down the road.
It's got the no more than 40% on a lot, right?
Whatever it is, I'm just asking.
Bill, we talked about that when we got together, didn't we? This is the thing you've been waving a lot, right? But
Well, we've either been
We
waiving
didn't
it,
waive it for.
or we've
the
been telling them to get the house, put the house in a different position to make it more environmentally sound.
Yeah, we did that at County Route 6 and Clove Valley Extension. On that subdivision,
Nolan,
think so.
Nolan,
Just being consistent, that's all.
you know what, Dave? So we did unlisted and coordinate. Dave, why don't you do a quick write-up
yeah,
on
I
this?
don't think I did a write-up on this before. I don't.
Maybe you only commented on it in a meeting.
I don't know that we did because I think it was when it was 3 lots. I don't think we did because we all agreed that it didn't work the way it was. Do you know what I mean?
I think we probably said, go back and redo it.
I think we did. I don't know if I think that was my recollection.
All right, so Dave, why don't you do a redo of this or a write-up on
Be
this one?
quick. It's-
But our notes from the last time are
Yeah.
that we have an issue with prime farmlands that
We do have that.
it
note.
was brought up.
Yeah, I think that whole area is probably prime soils, right?
The entire property is.
So. Again, we have this dynamic of, do you wanna
Well, why don't you,
advocate for a waiver or not?
why don't you do the write-up,
Okay,
you know, as you would normally do, look at all the ins and outs. It'll be a quick one, but look at all the ins and outs as we would normally do this.
okay.
Normal order here. So do the write-up. We have the escrow, Stacy, on this one, don't we? I think we have $700 in escrow, $750. Yeah, we have.
We have 650 of the seven.
Okay, so we have escrow available. So let's look at the prime farmlands,
The buffer.
the buffer.
I have a procedural question. The CEO determination was marked for 3 lots and now it's 2. Does that need to be changed?
I don't know, I thought the same thing.
And then also Muni Collab reflects that it's still the application reflects there's 3 lots. but
That's
it's
3
2.
lots. Muni
So-
collab we should change.
Yeah,
Well,
Do we need to change?
they
the
can
CEO?
it could be revised.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a natural process that an applicant will come to you and they change something while you were discussing it, right?
So I
And
think,
Municolab set up so you can post revisions.
so you can have a vision, but what about the original CEO decision? Do we need to go back to them?
Probably makes sense, yeah.
and the other thing I mentioned, thought is, on the Muni Collab, I found the EAF mapper. But I didn't find a short form if we need that, right? Don't we need that?
Correct.
We need a short form.
Cause I didn't see it up there.
On Uniqlo, didn't see.
You see only
a
the
lot of
map,
documents at all.
Just the mapper, yeah.
This one was probably one of the very first projects that went on Media Lab,
Could be.
so.
May just be a posted
It's,
thing, right?
yeah, they were just starting to put stuff up there. It wasn't quite as thorough as it had gotten with some of the later projects. So there's very possibly things like that haven't got posted there, that
Okay.
we certainly could if we know that they need to be, yeah.
Yeah, because the mapper was up about before.
Did this start, do we start with a Google Drive on this one?
Yes, I'm finding it now.
And then
So
my
maybe
other
it's
question
been
is,
Yeah, it went back to April and May.
my other question with this is, do we wanna do a site visit to understand the
Yes,
wetlands
that's
and
a good
buffer,
point, yeah.
where to go?
So Stacy, could you get the environmental assessment form moved over from Google Drive?
Mhm.
And let's do work with Bill to do a site visit.
Okay.
And Dave, you'll do a write-up as you would normally do.
In the hearing, you wanna,
No. Like I said at the hearing, we still want to do the walk. Want to get the write-up, so at the earliest, this will back maybe in December.
Dave, you did a write-up on May 20th, 25.
I did,
Yeah,
The first write-up?
yeah,
it's in the Google Drive?
yeah. And you flagged the wetlands and the prime farmland.
Thank you.
That's why you couldn't remember, we couldn't
Google
find it.
Drive, what were those, there was like.
I like the Google Drive.
Seems so
I'm sorry,
quaint.
it's easy
They're
to
like
find
post-Google
things
Drive.
in the Google Drive.
I've,
You
wiped
don't
my
laugh,
memory
I'm
of the
like,
Google
right.
Drive.
First, exactly.
Oh, well,
Yeah, progress.
All right, so I'll just,
yeah, Bill,
I'll just refresh that and.
okay. So Bill, we're not gonna set a public hearing.
Okay.
We'll wait for Dave to get the report back to us. And you'll get a call from Stacy to arrange for a site visit. Okay? Anybody else? Bill, you got anything else? Just, okay,
Not regarding this.
all right, thank you for being patient with
Bill.
us.
Thank you, Bill.
You too. All right, anything else on the agenda?
I will pick up those,
Go ahead.
then when I explore, must close, but when I explore.
Was it
Yeah,
Bill?
that,
Oh, great.
So Hans
He's gonna screw it up.
Hans just found out that the Meta escrow contract or verbiage was approved by the town board, so we're one step closer to getting that done. The only thing remaining now is the easement,
Correct,
and that was I sent them changes today.
we did, and we will be on the other also.
Okay, so I think it's time for somebody to,
Make the motion to adjourn.
Jennifer, a second.
That's my law.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Alright,
And I'll take note that it's 10 minutes to 10.
yes,
Nice.
well done, team.
Um,
You'll fill